This is SportsCenter.
I'm Doug Brown. Round 2 of the NBA Draft just about to tip off in New York. The Toronto Raptors will be on the clock first. Duke's Kyle Filipowski is the most notable name left out of the party in Round 1. There will be only 28 picks today. The Suns and 76ers each forfeited their second-round pick for violations of free agency rules. Draft coverage now underway on ESPN Radio and TV. Copa America Soccer in Atlanta tonight. Team USA against Panama. It's their second match in Group C. Landon Donovan, who played 157 matches for Team USA, second most all time, says Christian Pulisic is now a team leader.
He had worn the armband a little bit in previous years, but he is now the unequivocal leader of the team. And being a leader means you do different things for your team at different times. What it meant the other night was, give me the ball, I'm going to take it and put it in the back of the net, and he did.
Landon Donovan on Carlin versus Joe. The Americans beat Bolivia to start group play.
Hey, it's Evan Cohen coming up Friday. Paul George, James Harden, Klay Thompson. With free agency about to start, I'll tell you where they'll all land before free agency begins. It's Unsportsmanlike, 6 a.m. Eastern, right here on ESPN Radio, ESPN2, and ESPNU.
Matt Moscona.
I'm very important.
After further review.
Say it one more time.
After further review with Matt Moscona.
And here we go.
Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge Studios.
Let's ride!
And off we go. Welcome aboard. After further review, glad you're with us. I am Matt. Hey, Matt. Hey, Twitter world. I can't even get through it. I was looking for the who's the kid that says you're a loser, Matt?
Yeah.
Shut up, kid. Paul O'Neill, and Muso. I'm a Barbie girl in the Barbie world. And Mr. Toby Tomplay. Paulie, how'd I do with the intro there? By the way, Musa's not here. It's Alondra, but I don't know her drop.
I give it a 3 out of 10.
I am Hunt Palmer in for Matt, who is on vacation the rest of this week and next week. And we're here for the next 3 hours on After Further Review. We got a lot to get to over the next 3 hours until 6 o'clock, and excited to get to all of it. Bruce Feldman's got his top 10 venues in college football. I trust his opinion. We'll talk about that in 15 minutes. Certainly got around the SEC and Tigers and the pros. 1 hour from now, Scott Kushner going to jump aboard, talk a little bit about the Pelicans draft pick last night. He was also in Omaha for Tennessee, his alma mater's national championship. We may touch on that with Scott as well. Got some SEC football win totals, a baseball segment to get to. Jeff Duncan, straight up 5 o'clock, 2 hours from now. Steve Gleason, going to be honored. He, with the ESPY for the Arthur Ashe Courage Award. He wrote a book with Steve Gleason and has been there for the entire journey in New Orleans for Steve Gleason and Team Gleason. So we'll talk to Jeff Duncan at 5 o'clock. Chris Marler at 5:15. Autolocks 5:45. Tons and tons to get to over the next 3 hours, and glad you are with us. But we'll start the way that Matt starts every day.
It's time to pop the top on another edition of AFR with Bud Light. Drink easy.
All right, let's rock and roll on this Thursday. We'll start with a story over on CBS. Will Backus put this together, and he was talking about win totals for Southeastern Conference teams coming up this fall. And there are a lot of moving pieces in the Southeastern Conference, both based on the structure of the league and based on the subtraction of Nick Saban from the league. And I think that things have kind of taken a different shape this time of year than really what we're used to. We are always used to Alabama's number being 10 or 11 and a half. That's just where we've always lived. At this point now, Georgia has joined them at the top of the league, where you're looking at double-digit wins just by them falling out of bed. Like, that's it. Ole Miss is thought of a lot more highly than they really have been at any point in my watching the Southeastern Conference. You got to deal with Texas. Can they translate the success from the Big 12 over into the SEC? They stared down the big bad wolf in Tuscaloosa last year and won, but are you ready to do that in back-to-back years? What can we possibly expect from Oklahoma? I think they think they're going to be good. That's why they gave their coach a huge contract extension. LSU, kind of waiting in there. What do we expect from Auburn? I think there are a lot of moving pieces, and it just feels a little bit different this time around than it has in recent years. And I want to go through some of these numbers that kind of are fascinating to me. The first is Alabama. I just told you, their over-under is always 10.5 or 11.5. There is nowhere you can find action that would require them to go 9-3 to hit an under. And you're getting close to it. The over-under now is 9.5. And if you read this story on CBS, you're looking at losses to Georgia in Tuscaloosa, which is very reasonable, and a loss at Tennessee. Now, we know that happened 2 years ago, but that's not something that people would have been picking very often, quite frankly. And they do have Alabama beating LSU in Baton Rouge. They've got LSU winning in Norman at Oklahoma. They've got them beating Auburn. They've got them beating Wisconsin on the road. But you look at this schedule and you can pick apart some losses here for Alabama. And I think we're all really fascinated for the first time in 16 years to see what this looks like. Is there a drop-off? Do they maintain that machine? Caleb DeBoer checks a lot of boxes as a guy that will have a lot of success in Tuscaloosa. He's had a lot of success at low-level college football. He moved right on up to the middle of the pack in college football at Washington and replicated his success, all of it on the back of really one quarterback. Can he do it at the highest level of college football? It's interesting. Nothing was really interesting about talking about Alabama's preseason over-under for the last 15 years. This is. And then you start to look at Auburn, who I think people are struggling to get their arms around. Most people would suggest that Auburn is going to be a middle-of-the-pack team. But I think most people would also suggest that Hugh Freeze is a good coach. They're spending a lot of money in NIL. They're going to get good players, and he's going to coach them. Are they ready to do that now? That number's 7.5. I don't know that there's a lot of expectation on the Plains right now. And to me, I think a lot of it is around Peyton Thorne. I don't trust him very much. And we're going to get into that as we get into SEC Media Days. And that's just, I've seen Hugh Freeze win a lot of games with mediocre quarterback play. I don't think Bo Wallace was knocking down the door of the Heisman Trophy. But Peyton Thorne just doesn't do much of anything for me. And in this piece, they say, while Thorne himself may be a limiting factor after a lackluster debut with the Tigers, Auburn seems restocked enough to comfortably make a bowl game against a manageable schedule. So they got him over 7.5. I don't know how I feel about that. I will tell you how I feel about Florida, and they're going to fire their coach in short order. I'm not 100% sure Billy Napier's a bad football coach. In fact, I probably think he's not. But the deck of cards he got dealt in Gainesville is just not playable. You've been at blackjack tables where you lived with 15 and 16. He's had 15 or 16 at the blackjack table for 3 years. Part of that's his fault, part of it's not. And I think he's still sitting there with 16, and the dealer sitting across from him is got a jack. They got to play Miami. They got to play at Florida State. They still play LSU. They got to go to Knoxville. They play Georgia away from home. They play Texas away from home. It's just not doable. And for the second consecutive year, Florida's over-under total is 4.5. 4.5. And right now, I think that you'd probably have to take the under, and that's what this writer has. Says, yeah, they'll beat Samford. They can go to Starkville and win in the Cowbells. Okay, Central Florida, that's a team they should beat. We'll see what Gus has to say about that. And they got them beating Kentucky, who I don't think is a pushover. It's in the swamp. But yeah, lose to Miami. Yeah, lose to A&M. Yeah, lose at Tennessee. Yeah, lose to Georgia in the cocktail party. Go to Austin and get beat. LSU goes to the swamp and wins. Ole Miss goes to the swamp and wins. You go to Florida State and lose on the road. Yeah. I'm kind of hoping selfishly that Billy Napier's just not there by the time LSU plays him. I think that's just have all that distraction. Under 4.5 is what they say about Florida, which is just not something that you could have forecasted. I'll get to LSU here, but there are a couple more that I find interesting. Missouri is interesting to me. He's got over 9.5. And to me, Missouri just has not quite earned that respect from me. I think Eli Drinkwitz is a good coach. I think Brady Cook's a good quarterback. Obviously, I think Luther Burson is a star, but you lose your defensive coordinator, and I just don't trust the talent level on that team to go through one season and play great and then do it again. And he says they lose at Texas A&M, they lose at Alabama, but they win the rest of them. And maybe I need to reframe my argument against Missouri from the talent on their team, and maybe I just need to look at the schedule a little more closely. No Georgia, no LSU, no Ole Miss, no Tennessee. Okay. Maybe it's more so about the schedule than the personnel. They'll beat Murray State, they'll beat Buffalo, they'll beat Boston College, they'll beat UMass, they'll beat Vanderbilt. Okay, well, you can sock 5 away there. But am I really ready to say, and I think they'll beat Arkansas, who I think is going to be terrible. But am I really ready to say they're going to beat Auburn, Oklahoma, at South Carolina, and at Mississippi State? They're going to win all those? I'm not. I just can't get there with Missouri. I think it's fascinating that number's still so high. I just can't get there. And let's wrap things up with LSU. The number here is 9.5, and he goes over that 9.5. Says LSU's non-conference schedule is incredibly intriguing. Tigers play both Los Angeles-based Big Ten teams. There's a new change there. And they don't have to travel to California for either game. Vegas is close to California, but the point remains. 7 home games, and their 4 true road contests against the SEC that went 11-21 in conference play last year. They even get Bama at home. A 10-win regular season would be progress for Brian Kelly, though LSU's college football playoff fate may be out of their hands in that event. I would disagree with that. If LSU goes 10-2, I think they're in. Now, that's a lot of moving pieces. I can't tell you that with certainty, but I do believe that. And in this simulation here where he's got over 9.5, trying to get LSU to 10 wins, he's got to win over USC in Vegas, come home and beat Nichols, go to South Carolina and win. UCLA's here, got that as a win, South Alabama, and at Arkansas, plus Vanderbilt. And that's really those, if you're going to give me USC, I think the rest of those should be slam dunks. You can call me crazy for saying they're definitely going to go to South Carolina and winning, but I don't know if I trust that program either with the Jimmies and Joes. So the swing games are at A&M, which is not going to be easy. At Florida, we'll see what that program looks like at this point. I think A&M's a more difficult game. Oklahoma in Tiger Stadium the last night of the regular season. And then home games against Ole Miss and Alabama. And what an interesting thing it is to look at LSU's schedule and say that he's got LSU going over 9.5 with 2 home losses. That tells you what LSU's away from home schedule looks like. And whatever USC is in Vegas, you're talking about road conference games. South Carolina, Florida, and Vanderbilt we don't think are going to be great. And then Texas A&M, who's got a new coach. All of this is interesting to me because it's, for the first time ever, framed in a different lens. If you go over 9.5, I believe you have a chance to play for a national championship. That has never been the case. You had to win 11 or 12 at LSU to win a national championship from this offseason to the beginning of time. There was no 10-2 getting you in anywhere until now. And I think it's good enough. If you can get over 9.5, I think you can play for a national championship. You can check out all those over-under numbers, and I think some more are interesting, but that's kind of the ones that I wanted to get to there at CBSSports.com. The article was written a little bit earlier today by Will Backus there at CBS Sports. We're off and running here on After Further Review. When we come back, EA Sports made a big rumble on the internet, ranking its top 10 environments in the video game. Bruce Feldman, who's been to all the environments, said, I'll take this from here. What does he think about the rest of the country as well as LSU? We'll get to in some of that. It's AFR.
AFR.
Heat index over 100 degrees. You can go inside where it's cool. Your AC unit can't. Sits out there on the side of your house day after day, month after month, year after year, never gets a break. That's why you got to make sure that thing is running efficiently. Call River City's 1 Hour Air, 752-0001, 752-0001, or 1hourbr.com. I always love sharing these 5-star Google reviews. How about this one from Jerry Warner? The technician arrived on time, completed his review of my unit, cleaned the areas outside of my AC, and replaced the starter kit for the unit. He was very professional and thorough. His explanation of the status of my unit based on the age and the current condition of it, they were great. 5-star review from Jerry Warner. That could be your experience as well. More than twice the amount of 5-star Google reviews than the next closest competitor. You have issues with your AC? Look for the big yellow vans and trucks with a giant clock on the side. It's River City's 1-Hour Air, 752-0001.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram is taking $20,000 off new 23 Ram 1500 trucks. We're open for business in our beautiful new showroom and taking $20,000 off the powerful Ram truck. All new Bayou vehicles come with a 7-year, 100,000-mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
The best kept secret in town is out. Discover Tallulah at the Renaissance Hotel on Bluebonnet.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Farming is a way of life for us. It's not something we get up in the morning and dread going do. It's just something we go to bed at night looking forward to getting up to go do. John Deere equipment is what we as farmers strive to have. So it's in your blood, it's in your veins. It's just a part of who you are. Green is what we want to be in. The other tractors were acquired to patch it up to get to where you want to be. Where we want to be is in John Deere. Flip.
After further review with Matt Moscona.
Always a pleasure to tell you about our friends at the Williamson Eye Center. Check them out online at williamsoneye.com. They've got locations all over the greater Baton Rouge area. On the Baton Rouge General Campus, you turn off a Bluebonnet onto Picardy, you make that right. And then right there at the stop sign, the building on the right, the first 2 floors, that's the Williamson Eye Center. State-of-the-art dry eye center, and it's full service. Of course, they have their state-of-the-art surgery center there where you can have your LASIK or whatever surgical procedure you're having. But they have your standard annual eye exam as well at the Williamson Eye Center. Learn more at williamsoneye.com. The thing I tell you every day is take the advice that I was given and change your life. To give yourself the gift of sight is absolutely incredible. If you're someone like me who spent your life with contacts or glasses, there is a way to be done with it forever. williamsoneye.com. Go see Dr. Blake Williamson for that free consultation. 924-2020. 924-2020 or williamsoneye.com for the Williamson Eye Center.
It is after further review. Hunt Palmer in for Matt Moscona, who's taking the rest of this week and next week off. I'm looking at the Bayou Ford chat here, and many people, many people are telling me that I nailed the intro. Paul gave me a 3 out of 10. I thought that might have been a little generous, but I gave it an A for effort. The effort was there. I don't know if the execution was was all that good.
The effort was great. The execution could use some work. But like I said, I love the effort. I really do.
What's your drop? Because I did Musos because I knew it was Barbie Girl.
Yeah, it's just a sound. Or no, it's an Audio Slave song. Set it off.
I don't know who. I don't know who Audio Slave is.
I knew you wouldn't. Yeah, I don't know why I even tried to tell you.
All right, let's.
You would know the Barbie Girl one.
Okay, I got
that.
I
one's
know,
like super popular.
I know Aqua Barbie Girl. All right, let's talk a little football here. Earlier this week, I certainly talked about it on my show. I don't know if Matt mentioned it on AFR, but EA Sports is coming out with that new college football video game, and they rank the top 10 most difficult environments to play in, and they're going to play that up big time on the video game, and if it's going to be difficult to call plays and audible, and freshmen are going to freak out. And they ranked Kyle Field number 1, Bryant-Denny number 2, and Tiger Stadium number 3, and a lot of people in Baton Rouge were all up in arms, and I kind of talked about it, and it's a video game. Who really cares? But Bruce Feldman decided, hey, EA Sports is doing this. I'll do it too. And Bruce Feldman has actually been in the real-life venues, not the video game venues, trying to press the X button appropriately to get a play called. And I thought that his take on it was interesting. So we'll start at 10, where he has Kyle Field with Texas A&M. And I have been in Kyle Field. I wouldn't suggest it was the greatest environment Kyle Field has ever displayed. It was 11 o'clock in the morning, and we didn't quite know who Johnny Manziel was in 2012. But I was impressed with the size, with the choreographed swaying, the stadium shakes. And I talked about this on my show earlier this week. Like, there is no denying the hunger of the A&M fan base. You can say the yell leaders are weird. I would. You can say yell practice is kind of corny and is not great for the internet. I would. You can say that the sidelines smell like cow poop because there's horses that are pooping on the sidelines, and that would be accurate as well. But it is a great venue for college football. I'm here to give SEC rivals their due when I believe it's appropriate. Kyle Field's an incredible environment for college football. They haven't had the results to back it up, and that's why Bruce Feldman puts them down at 10. He says, while A&M has been when A&M has been really good, the Aggies have still struggled at home more than they should, and that's why he put them down at number 10. I thought it's a pretty good place to play. He's got Georgia at number 9. I've had mixed reviews at Sanford Stadium. I think as of right now, as good as they are, that place has got to be absolutely a nightmare to play in. It was really loud in 2013. I did not think it was really loud in 2009 when LSU went. But I can see a top 10 environment in the country at Sanford Stadium for Georgia. I've never been to Oregon. That's who he's got at number 8. I do think it's probably great. Apparently, it's been built acoustically so that all the sound kind of bakes in there. It's not big, but I think it's probably a really good place to play. I don't know that I'll ever set foot at an Allison Stadium. Maybe LSU plays there in a playoff game one day. Now that's a possibility. But I think it sounds reasonable. Everybody that's been there thinks it's really, really good. And now they've got a whole new crop of Big Ten teams going up there. He's got Tennessee at number 7. That's where Neyland Stadium ranks. Neyland Stadium's big. It is really, really big. They got some disrespect in the CAA poll that I don't really care about. But I thought that Neyland was fantastic in 2006. In 2011, they didn't have a chance. LSU ran the ball right down their throats. In fact, one time, LSU took the ball at the 2-yard line and went 98 yards without throwing a pass. They didn't have a chance to get loud in that one. And then LSU went there a few years ago in that ridiculous rainstorm. So I don't think a lot of LSU fans have great perspective on what Neyland could be. It was great in 2006, and I think now that they really feel like Josh Heupel's got it cooking a little bit, I could see that being a really good place to play. Not a great place to sit, way too small on the seats. I was like 40 pounds lighter when I was a freshman in college when I went the first time, and I still could barely fit in the seats. So that's a tough scene there in Neyland for the heavy folks, but it's loud. He's got the Swamp at 6, and I talked about this on my show earlier this week. Like, I've seen the Swamp awesome, and I've seen it bad. And you would expect that at home because you got Kent State and whoever the heck coming in here and nobody cares. But, like, I've seen Tebow in there when it is an absolute hornet's nest, and I've seen the Muschamp years and nobody gave a rip. And so that's where I kind of struggle a little bit. I think Florida's got a lot of sidewalk fans because it's a transient state. A lot of people move down there with no ties to Florida. But, hey, if they're good, I might show up and buy some tickets to the game, where, like, the other states, like in Alabama or Louisiana, like Texas, like, you're here, you're from here. This is a lifelong thing. So I don't know that I would put it in the top 6, but I understand when it's really good, it is really, really good. Feldman continues on with Virginia Tech at number 5. He put some clips in the article on The Athletic from YouTube with the entrance to Enter Sandman. I think that's probably awesome. The entrance, do they sustain that for 4 quarters? Are they really good? Like, I don't know. I don't know that Lane Stadium. I hadn't been. I shouldn't be speaking with. I can't be definitive about this, and I can't plant my flag in the ground. But I have my questions if Lane Stadium is more intimidating than the Swamp or Neyland or Kyle Field. I don't think Lane Stadium is better than Kyle Field, and it's number 5 here. And what Feldman does is he puts an asterisk, says, I'm thinking about what this place has been in the past, not what it's been in recent years, and I get it. The results recently indicate otherwise. I don't know that I'm going to hold a couple bad years against him. Everybody's had a couple of bad years, and I don't think everybody thought that Tiger Stadium was an easy place in theory to play, even when LSU was bad in the 90s. It still had a mystique around it. Saturday night in Death Valley, we just weren't very good. And Virginia Tech's not very good right now, but it's not that big. The entrance is probably awesome. Is it great for 4 quarters with the rest of these? I would kind of have my doubts. This is when we get to the heavy hitters in the top here. Ohio State is number 4. I've never been to the Shoe. I want to go to the Shoe. Unfortunately, I feel like if I ever do go to the Shoe, LSU is going to be there in December, and that sounds really not fun. But I think that it's probably fantastic. I love the dot the I. I think they travel incredibly well. Obviously, I was at the 07 into 08 national championship game. They traveled great, and the dotting the I thing was really cool with the band. I'm sure that the Shoe is awesome, and he says as much here, ranking them number 4. I'll tell you who gets a lot of respect in these. They did in the video game, and they did for Bruce Feldman here, and I believe it based on what I've seen on TV. Penn State. That's a lot of people. They're the best at this coordinated color thing. LSU tried this a couple of times. Did a gold. They try a gold game every year. That never works. Tried a white game. Tried a white hat game one year for less. That didn't work. LSU can't color coordinate squat. What Paul's got up on the screen right now, that's coordinated. There's nobody in a Navy shirt in that whole place. And it's big and it's loud, and I think they're hungry as well to try to climb that mountain like Georgia has in the past, like Michigan has in the recent past. There are some teams that have gotten over that hump with a football national championship that I think can do it. And I would put some of these teams like Tennessee, like Penn State in that next group of teams in the last 20 years that haven't gotten it done that I think could. And I think part of it is because Penn State's got an awesome home field environment. He's got them at number 3. I've never been, but it looks good. Now, this is one that a lot of people push back on. EA Sports did not. Bruce Feldman did not at number 2, and this will tell you what number 1 is. But number 2, he's got Bryant-Denny. That tells you what number 1 is, and we'll get to it. But a lot of people say, oh, it's a wine and cheese crowd. Oh, they're entitled. Oh, it's not that intimidating. It's not that loud. Let me just tell you. I was there in 2007. It was loud. I was there in 2009. It was loud. I was there in 2011, and I can't think personally of a pregame atmosphere that felt like that. It was incredible. I was there in 13. It was loud. And I was there in 15 when LSU went there high and mighty with Leonard Fournette, and it was really loud. I think it's a great environment. I don't like any of the people in there in red. I just don't. I think potentially might have gotten into a yelling match after the Patrick Peterson no call. I was not in a great mood. But I think it's really good. And I think the people who try to shout it down consistently, yeah, they've been awesome. Yeah, they've been the top of the food chain for 15 years, and they win all the time in there, and that makes it a lot easier to have a great environment. I get all that. But I consider Bryant-Denny a really, really tough place to play. It's not just because the team's really good. I think it's big. I think it's loud. I think it's passionate. I mean, when they play on the replay, they get a big hit, they all go boom, and I think it's a cool thing that they do. I think they may have one of the best entrances in college football that a lot of people don't know about. They close the locker room doors so that nobody can see into the tunnel, and they put a camera that goes right down the tunnel of the hallway, and the entire Alabama team turns the corner at once, and now it's Kalen DeBoer, but it was Saban, was at the front, and then usually the 3 best players are right there, and they put that camera right down the empty hallway, and the second they turn the corner, that place comes unglued. I hope they lose every game for the rest of time. It's a really good place to watch a football game. And oh, by the way, Bruce Feldman says the number 1 place in college football to watch a football game, Tiger Stadium, LSU. The lead into his piece here is this place is just pure mayhem, and it starts way before kickoff. I've heard from so many coaches over the years about how hostile the treatment of their teams is, from rattling their bus on arrival to just dousing the visitors with booze. Just seeing Mike the Tiger in person adds another layer of intimidation to this. And a lot of us, a lot of you that are listening, myself personally, certainly doing pre and post game for the last few years and being a student, like we've been in there for a lot of LSU Rice games that went 48-6. We've been in there for a lot of Mississippi State games that weren't full, especially recently. So I've seen it when it's not awesome. But most of these people, Scott Van Pelt, Chris Fowler, Bruce Feldman, whoever the case may be, they're here for the Bama game. They're here to watch Senior Day for the Heisman Trophy winner. They're here when it's great. And that's one of the things that Scott Van Pelt says all the time, like, how good is your good? LSU's good is really, really good. Now, as I mentioned, I've seen a lot of the SEC teams at their best. I thought Tennessee was fantastic in 06. I thought the Swamp in 06 and 08 was incredible. Tuscaloosa in 2011. I saw Cam Newton play in Jordan-Hare. I was in Oxford for a couple of big ones for them. Like, Samford was really loud for the 13 game. Like, I've been in the stadiums, and I can't sit here and tell you, Tiger Stadium blows them out of the water. I just know it's really, really good. And it's cool for me personally, and I think probably for you, to share that pride when someone who's not in our purple and gold bubble, who's not submersed in this and has a bias, that can look from the outside and go, that's the best. You should really go see that. It's very cool. And it's why even if LSU can't quite compete in NIL with Texas and Texas A&M, if they can't quite compete in NIL with what Georgia's doing, if Miami's got a more aggressive booster, or Southern Cal's doing what they're doing, even though LSU doesn't have the deepest pockets in college football, you've still got this state that has folks that want to play, and there's still this allure. And yes, money is important to some of these high school kids, and they're going to look at that in their recruiting process. But I went through a few weeks ago a survey from the top 50 players in the country, those that decided to participate, and a lot of them, more than half, said that the money they got from NIL was not the most important thing. And when you continue to hear things like this from national media, you realize that LSU is going to be okay. We might not win every recruiting battle, but some of this stuff really matters. And for the national media to feel that way is a cool thing. And I can't wait to get inside Tiger Stadium this year and see it in person once again. That's Bruce Feldman's look at the top 10 environments in college football. If you want to check out the piece, you can certainly do so on The Athletic. When we come back, we'll go around the SEC. It's AFR.
AFR.
And when it is 94 degrees outside, I can't even imagine spending time outside during the Louisiana summers without a swimming pool. We got one at our house. I'll never own a home without a swimming pool again. If that's your dream, to have a beautiful custom pool built at your home, or if you had a pool that quite honestly just needs some upgrading, needs to be remodeled, you need Duplessis Builders. I'm going to give you the website. It's duplessisbuilders.net, duplessisbuilders.net. Y'all listen to this show for long enough, you know one thing about me, especially when it comes to contractors. I'm never going to recommend to you the guy that's the cheapest. I'm going to recommend the guy that's the best. And that's the case with Duplessis Builders. Derek Duplessis, they're not going to cut corners. They will not compromise building standards to save a few bucks. At Duplessis Builders, they will walk away from a job before they put their name on something that is not to their standard. It's Duplessis Builders. If you are even thinking about building a pool, you owe it to yourself to give Duplessis Builders a look. DuplessisBuilders.net.
Farming is a way of life for us. It's not something we get up in the morning and dread going do. It's just something we go to bed at night looking forward to getting up to go do. John Deere equipment is what we as farmers strive to have. It's in your blood, it's in your veins. It's just a part of who you are. Green is what we want to be in. The other tractors were acquired to patch it up to get to where you want to be. Where we want to be is in John Deere. Flip the switch and learn more about what it means to be powered by sunshine at sunequip.com.
Bayou Ford has $10,000 off F-150. $10,000 off the new 2024 Ford F-150. And all new Bayou Ford vehicles come with a 7-year, 100,000-mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Ford is going to do right by you.
The Windsor Senior Living Community in Mandeville, Louisiana is a beautiful, vibrant apartment community geared towards seniors. They are nestled right in the heart of Mandeville, where seniors live a more carefree lifestyle in spacious apartments with the peace of mind that comes from having a little extra help. Call the Windsor at 985-624-8040 to schedule a lunch and tour. Come see how the Windsor can be your passport to peace of mind.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
BRAC teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work, creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined, we delivered. Gold. BRAC, your #1 park system in the nation.
At Relief Windows, we're more than windows. We're windows, doors, hardy plank, and vinyl siding. But our #1 product is always customer satisfaction.
After further review with Matt Moscona.
Brought to you by Parish Restoration. Parish Restoration. I've told you before about Mold Zero Pure Restoration. Now, Parish Restoration, all the same thing. Patented non-toxic dry fog treatment. Parish, Jim Woodworth, who I've told you about for years now, Jim Woodworth merged with my guys Richard Tilley and Ryan Terrio, all under the Parish umbrella. So it's Parish Restoration, patented non-toxic dry fog. It's been actually pretty remarkable to hear some of these stories of people who have put out to bid, for remediation contracts, and they get the number from Parish Restoration, and they'll call and say, "Is this number right?" And they explain why. I say it often. It is a more cost-effective, more efficient way, and also of remediation, and also because it's a dry fog, you're not cutting sheetrock or pulling out carpet or taking things out of your home or your place of business. They spray the fog, they let it dwell, it dissipates, you're back in free and clear and mold-free. It's Parish Restoration. ParishBuilt.com.
Water is...
NBA draft has resumed in round number 2. Kyle Filipowski, who probably didn't get a lot of sleep last night. The Duke forward did not go in the first round. He was all suited up in the green room, and every pick came off the board, and he was not selected. He did go to Utah with the 32nd pick today, and that's just a huge bummer emotionally for him and actually for him, because first-round picks get that guaranteed deal, and second-round picks have to earn their spot. I would imagine Kyle Filipowski will make the team. I'm not going to sit here and pretend to know a lot about the Utah Jazz roster currently, other than the top end of it. Don't know what guys 8 through 14 look like there. I think he'll probably make the team, but you don't have that guaranteed deal, which is a huge bummer. We'll keep you posted as they continue to churn through the second round of the NBA draft. All right, I tried to do the AFR intro earlier that Matt does every day, and I failed. Paul gave me a 3 out of 10. We'll try to do something a little bit more doable this time around and see if we can do our best Matt impression. We do it about this time every day. Let's go around the SEC.
Around the SEC, bringing you the biggest news from the nation's best conference.
The Kentucky Wildcats.
Big night for Kentucky last night in the NBA draft. Reed Sheppard, the first American college player taken off the board. He was the 3rd overall pick by the Houston Rockets. Just 5 picks later, Rob Dillingham came off the board, number 8 to the San Antonio Spurs. Shout out to Alondra. That runs the final tally of 36 first-round picks to play for John Calipari at Kentucky, and he won with 36 first-round picks, one title.
The Arkansas Razorbacks.
Arkansas baseball's Portal Hall added a Division II All-American on Wednesday. Harrogate, Tennessee, Lincoln Memorial corner outfielder Carson Bowles, who's a 5'11", 190-pounder, committed to Arkansas after hitting .475 with 24 doubles, a triple, and 15 homers. He scored 68 runs and drove in 68 in 50 games as a junior this past season.
The Tennessee Volunteers.
The SEC Player of the Year, Dalton Knecht, had to wait a little bit longer than he anticipated on Wednesday night. He was the 17th selection in the NBA draft to the Lakers. Knecht became just the 8th former junior college player to earn consensus first-team All-America honors in the NCAA tournament era. That dates back to 1938, and including in the first 33 years. That's your news from Rocky Top.
The Georgia Bulldogs.
Wes Johnson, head baseball coach, received a big contract extension earlier this week, and the transfer portal ads keep on coming. Brian Curley, a right-handed pitcher from Virginia Commonwealth, pledged to the Bulldogs yesterday. Last year, he was 6-0 with a 2.87 ERA in 19 relief appearances. Georgia will take any human who can throw a baseball adequately for Wes Johnson. They had none of those this past year and still got a top 8. They got to overhaul that staff, and it starts there with Brian Curley.
The Ole Miss Rebels.
And Lane Kiffin dipped into the 504 for a football commitment. Edna Carr defensive end Corey Adams pledged to the Rebs earlier today, a 3-star prospect, ranked number 28 in the state of Louisiana by the folks over at On3. Had a lot of recruiting prediction machines in for LSU, but it seems like the Tigers may be pursuing some other guys on the edge. And Ole Miss, as they generally do, jumped down into Louisiana and took one that LSU may not have taken. So Corey Adams headed up to the Grove. That is around the SEC. I'll crumple the old paper, and there's no basketball hoop, Paul, so I'll just throw it at you. It is around the SEC.
It's another 3 out of 10 from Paul right there.
I'm just, I'm doing a couple. I think my my around the SEC intro's got to get at least like a 5 out of 10.
Yeah.
I may have fumbled through it just a little bit, but I only had it printed out on one piece of paper. I know Matt has them all in crumples and crumples. I just had the one, so I crumpled it and chunked that to the cheap seats. They are off and running in the second round, as I mentioned. Johnny Furphy, another pick there for the San Antonio Spurs. That is pick number 35. I mentioned, and I want to kind of go back to this because we haven't spent a lot of time on the NBA draft, and we will do so moving forward here. I'm going to have Scott Kushner come on in 15 minutes to talk about the Pels and kind of what they look to do with their roster here in the offseason. But I got to say this. I was really surprised that Reed Sheppard went third. I watch a lot of SEC basketball, more than most people. I watched Kentucky play a ton last year, and I love Reed Sheppard's game. He's a dead-eye shooter. He always makes the right play. He got a great demeanor about him and a poise about him. Hit a huge buzzer beater late in the season for them. I love his game as a college player. The third pick in the draft, he's a little below average athlete, doesn't have great size. I realize he's a great shooter. And if you can shoot, you can play. Because in this era of pace and make sure you space the floor, you can't leave him. So somebody on the defensive end is going to have to go out there and play him. But, I just was surprised to see him go third off the board when you look at his skill set. And the other piece to this, and I talked about this on my show a little bit earlier today, is the NBA draft is a bit of a tough watch for the fan. It doesn't mean that the NBA is suffering at all. I think the level of play in the NBA is incredible to watch. We just have not heard of these guys. I'm looking up at the screen right now. Juan Nunez just goes from Spain. No one knows who that is. He's probably awesome. And he might make a great guard for the Pacers in next year. But just in terms of watching the draft, it can just be difficult because we're used to the college guys going, and there are so many guys from overseas who we know are great. I don't think anybody's turning their nose up at Jokic. I don't think anybody's turning their nose up at Luka. Wembanyama, pretty good player. These guys are great when they get on the floor, but we don't know who they are. So it's just really difficult to watch. And then you've got the guys on the NBA media side of things who are 4 picks ahead on Twitter. And that kind of ruins the drama of it as well. And I would imagine that the NBA would try to get out in front of that a little bit and say, hey, we need to keep this a little bit better under wraps. I don't know if they could do that with Shams and Woj. Those guys are pretty plugged in. But like the whole viewing experience for the draft is just not that great because you're talking about knowing the picks for ahead of time and not knowing half the guys that get drafted. Great product on the floor, not a great product on TV for the draft. That's just my 2 cents on it. We got one more segment to go in hour number 1. We will look at some Tigers in the pros. Scott Kushner talking Pels in 15 minutes. It's AFR.
AFR.
AFR is brought to you by Rouse's, the official supermarket of the New Orleans Saints. Rouse's.com, Rouse's.com. Rouse's, tell you all the time, this feels like home. Y'all are heading toward the 4th of July. If you're planning to have people over for the 4th, make sure you get by Rouse's. Everything you need, right? You want some meat for the grill? They got it at Rouse's. You want some waters and some drinks for the kids? They got it. You need the adult beverages, the cold pops, the great craft beer, or any of the fine spirits. Best selection you will find anywhere. There are nearly 70 Rouse's locations from Lake Charles to Orange Beach, Alabama, everywhere in between. One of the newest locations is not far from our studio on Florida Boulevard right here in Baton Rouge. So get by the Rouse's near you. Remember, if you're making groceries, go to the website or the app, hit the weekly ad tab. You'll see all of the discounts, all of the sale items at Rouse's this week. So you can save on that grocery bill. It's at Rouse's. They love to source locally. They love to be a part of the community. It's Rouse's, the official supermarket of the New Orleans Saints. Rouse's, this feels like home.
Breck teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work, creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined, we delivered. Gold. Breck, your #1 park system in the nation.
There it is, the extra mile. On the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further. Like vans customized for work or play. With safety and tech to keep you connected. Supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team. And backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
When it comes to ending cancer, we push forward, always working together for you. That's why our cancer experts at Kushner have clinically integrated with MD Anderson Cancer Center. This means advanced cancer care, including access to life-saving clinical trials and integrating care to treat the whole you. Introducing Kushner MD Anderson Cancer Center. Long live you.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs, even in the case of an after-hours emergency. The light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. For years, you've heard me tell you about Insurance Network of Louisiana, helping you find better coverage for less money. But it's not just for your home and auto. They also offer commercial properties. So, retail stores, professional offices like doctors, dentists, attorneys, clothing boutiques. Insurance Network of Louisiana can find you better coverage for less money. They service.
After further review with Matt Moscona.
Remind you about Michele Weighing and Measurement. Michele.com with 30 offices across 11 different states. If you weigh or measure something, Michele sells, services, rents the products used to weigh and measure. No matter where you are, you can ship your precision measurement devices to Michele, and they'll calibrate them for you, send them back, or they'll just come to your office, pick them up, and bring them back. They can also do on-site calibration. If you have equipment that can't leave or you don't want it to leave, they can come do on-site calibrations as well with their mobile calibration labs. It's Michelli Weighing and Measurement, online at Michelli.com. Louisiana-born, Louisiana-owned and operated for 76 years. They've continued to grow, expand their footprint while maintaining that local ownership, local feel, handshake deals, face-to-face sales. It's Michelli Weighing and Measurement. They're also hiring. Check out the careers tab at Michelli.com. Again, online at Michelli.com, Michelli.com.
Wrapping up hour number 1 here on a Thursday edition of After Further Review. We'll have Scott Kushner coming up in 10 minutes. I'm excited for the conversation. I am curious what he thinks about the Pelicans draft pick, but more so, I'm curious about his time in Omaha. He was up there. He's a Tennessee Vol alum, and I can hear about some Jello shots. Apparently, he said he was drinking a lot of cold pops up in Omaha, and then his team finally won one. So we'll talk to Scott Kushner about all that coming up in 10 minutes. But Musso's on vacation. He hadn't been here all week. I'll just do his work for him. It's Tigers in the Pros.
Tigers in the Pros. They still bleed purple and gold. They're just really rich now.
I saw a social media post from the Rangers saying, vote Josh Smith to the All-Star game. And I was going, wait a second. I mean, are we just voting everybody to the All-Star game? And then I looked at his stats and I was like, oh, like he could make the All-Star team. Y'all realize he's hitting third for Texas? Now, the Brewers beat the Rangers, which I hate because I'm a Cubs fan. And Josh Smith had a rough night last night. He was 0 for 5 with 4 strikeouts. But he's hitting third for Texas. That's pretty impressive to be in that spot for the defending world champs. Jake Latz got the loss in that game for the Rangers. He threw 2/3 of an inning, gave up a hit on a run, and gave up a run on a hit. He also walked one as well. And I want to dip down to the minor leagues for a little bit of Tigers in the Pros action as well. Dylan Cruz, we know, got promoted to AAA. And he's gotten off to a reasonable start at AAA. He's 8 for 33. That is a .250 batting average. He does have a couple of home runs. He's got a couple of doubles, and the slugging percentage is pretty good, even though the batting average is only down at .250, on base at .273. He's playing for the Rochester Red Wings, and I'm not sure when that call is going to come for him. He does need to swing the bat well in AAA. I don't know if they're in a hurry to get him up right now. In fact, I think they're probably not. I think they are probably more prone to going ahead and letting him get some more seasoning down there and then come up maybe in September or maybe to start next year. But we know Dylan can play an awesome center field. We know he can swing the bat, and he's going to get up here eventually. But right now, just trying to find his way in AAA. Paul Skeens made it look really easy. Wyatt Lankard made it look really easy. We saw those guys in Omaha last year. It's not that easy. Dylan's going to be just fine. He's off to a pretty good start there in AA. And speaking of good starts, Trey Morgan is awesome right now in High A. If you look at his entirety of the body of work in his first full season of professional baseball, both at A and High A, .333 batting average. He's getting on base at a .420 clip. He's got 4 homers and 12 stolen bases in 46 games. I'm not sure what Trey Morgan's game looks like defensively at the next level. I just don't know if a team is going to be willing to put a first baseman out there who can't hit 15 home runs, and I just don't think Trey is in a position right now to hit 15 home runs in the big leagues. So I think he's probably a corner outfielder, but his bat is really playing well. And while we look at not having Cruz and not having this past team having Jobert and Dugas and some of those guys because of all the power numbers below so they had, Trey Morgan is such a quality hitter. He hits the ball to the backside, we know so well. He's grown into a little bit of power. His bat control is great. He doesn't strike out a ton. And he's translated that to the lower levels of minor league baseball. And I think I didn't look at Trey going into his junior year as a big league player. No power, corner defender, great college player, but like, am I looking at a guy that's going to make it into the professional ranks and then get to the big leagues? I don't know. Right now, I think there's a good chance. I'm well aware that Dylan carved up single A and then has gotten to AA and AAA and it's been tougher. And there are a lot more difficult things that are coming offensively for Trey over the next couple of years. But I'm not willing to put that to bed. I think he could be a big league player. They just gotta figure some things out, and he's off to a really, really good start. So that is Tigers in the Pros. Hunt Palmer in for Matt Moscona here on a Thursday edition of the of AFR. It's not of the Hunt Palmer Show. It is of AFR. Matt's going to be out today, obviously tomorrow, and he'll be out all of next week. Tomorrow you'll have Taylor Sharp in the captain's chair here for After Further Review. And then Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday of next week, Musso is going to sit in when he comes back from vacation. And then we're all off on Thursday for the 4th of July. We're all off on Friday for the 5th of July. And then we'll be back in action. Matt will be here the following Monday to get back on track. It's just that kind of year. Everybody's like on vacation. We had Jacob and T-Bob were out at the end of last week. Matt's out next week. Musso's out this week. Taylor's been out a little bit. Everyone's taking some vacation except me. I texted Matt earlier, and then I talked to him. I was like, I don't have a single scheduled day off this entire summer, which is really stupid. I will amend that. I'm eventually going to go play golf one day and just not come into work. But like, we don't have any trips planned. We're just a boring crew in the Palmer family, and I'm here stuck at work, but enjoying it because we're talking about a little bit of sports. And I now realize that I'm over halfway done with this 5-hour shift, which is a very, very good thing. We're going to step aside for SportsCenter, and hour number 2 of AFR is coming up. We've got some A&M baseball coaching candidates to get to, a baseball top 50 for the MLB Draft. When we come back after SportsCenter, Scott Kushner on the Pelicans and his time in Omaha as a Tennessee alum. Come back with us on After Further Review.
AFR.
Brought to you by Shawbills Tire and Auto Service, ShawbillsTire.com. 18 locations in South Louisiana. Find the location nearest you at ShawbillsTire.com. Bumper-to-bumper auto service and name brand tires at wholesale prices. They will always find a way to get you the best possible price for the best possible tires on the road. That's what they do at Shawbills. And when they get you in by selling you the best tires, the cheapest price possible, they're going to treat you like family, and they're going to treat you so good you're going to keep coming back year after year after year every time you need anything for your vehicle. Tires rotated, oil changed, check engine light on, brakes squeaking, whatever's wrong with your vehicle, bring it to Shawbills. Let them give it the once-over, and you can always schedule online, so it's convenient. ShawbillsTire.com. Find the location nearest you at ShawbillsTire.com. Shop tires online at ShawbillsTire.com. Be sure to ask about the Shawbills credit card as well, because you can save $50 off your first purchase when you use the Shawbills credit card only at Shawbills.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
Bayou Ford has $10,000 off F-150. $10,000 off the new 2024 Ford F-150. And all new Bayou Ford vehicles come with a 7-year, 100,000-mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Ford is going to do right by you.
Jerry and Benny Payne began Central Plumbing Company out of their driveway in Tanglewood Subdivision. 50 years later and 4 generations down the road, we continue to serve Baton Rouge and the surrounding areas for all of their plumbing needs. Residential, commercial, industrial, or hospitality, Central Plumbing is here 24/7, 365.
We want to thank our customers, family, and friends for 50 years of success.
And looking forward to 50 more.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Farming is a way of life for us. It's not something we get up in the morning and dread going do. It's just something we go to bed at night looking forward to getting up to go do. John Deere equipment is what we as farmers strive to have. It's in your blood, it's in your veins. It's just a part of who you are. Green is what we want to be in. The other tractors were acquired to patch it up to get to where you want to be. Where we want to be is in John Deere. Flip the switch and learn more about what it means to be powered by sunshine at sunequip.com.
At Relief Windows, we're more than windows. We're windows, doors, hardy plank, and vinyl siding. But our number one product is always customer satisfaction. Visit us online at reliefwindows.com. Oh, by the way, we do shutters too.
This is SportsCenter.
I'm Doug Brown. The Utah Jazz take Duke forward Kyle Filipowski with the second pick of the second round in the NBA draft. Among the players who haven't been picked yet, Bronny James, son of LeBron. ESPN's Seth Greenberg says Bronny is not an NBA player right now.
He's a 6'1" two guard. That's what he is. If it was Bronny Greenberg, all right, we wouldn't have this conversation. That's just the truth. It's just the truth. I mean, and look, I think Brown's a great dad, and obviously he's done so many good things, but we're so unrealistic.
Seth Greenberg on Freddie and Harry. NBA draft coverage continues right now on ESPN Radio and TV. Celtics center Kristaps Porzingis had surgery today for his rare lower left leg injury. He'll be out 5 to 6 months, meaning he'll miss at least a month or two at the start of the season. The ESPYs will be 2 weeks from tonight. Former Saints safety Steve Gleason will get the Arthur Ashe Courage Award. South Carolina women's basketball coach Dawn Staley is the Jimmy V Award winner for perseverance.
Hey, it's Evan Cohen coming up Friday. Paul George, James Harden, Klay Thompson. With free agency about to start, I'll tell you where they'll all land before free agency begins. It's Unsportsmanlike, 6 a.m. Eastern, right here on ESPN Radio, ESPN2, and ESPNU.
Matt Moscona.
I'm very important.
After further review.
Say it one more time.
After further review with Matt Moscona.
And here we go.
Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge Studios.
Let's ride!
AFR hour number 2. If you were with us 1 hour ago, I attempted to do the entire Matt Moscona intro, including the sound effects, and it went horrendously, as one would expect. And you try to do something off the top of your head that you don't have any experience doing. So we're not going to try to do that, but we're fired up to be here. I am Hunt Palmer in for Matt, who is out on vacation through next week. We do have Paul O'Neill and Alondra Villarreal here with you for the next couple of hours. You heard there in SportsCenter that Steve Gleason going to get the Arthur Ashe Courage Award at the ESPYs. Certainly more than well deserved, and we'll talk to Jeff Duncan an hour from right now about Steve Gleason. Jeff has written a book with Steve Gleason and has been there from the time Steve was a player for the Saints through the diagnosis and obviously through this entire journey for which he is being awarded the Arthur Ashe Courage Award. So can't wait to talk with Jeff Duncan about that an hour from right now, and we'll also chat in the final hour with Chris Marler, who's joined us here on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge as well. It's time to talk some Pels. They made a draft pick last night. Scott Kushner good enough to jump aboard and do that with us. He joined us on the Jim's Firearms Hotline. Scott, I'm told this is the point of the interview where Matt on AFR always makes fun of the fact that Tennessee never wins anything. So the floor is yours. Clearly that's not the case.
Oh, wait, Hunt, I've got like 3 voices going on the phone line right now. Are you hearing that too?
I got you. I don't have 3 voices, so let's cut it. Let's have a
I
lunch.
had somebody else talking about the NBA draft. I didn't know what was going on there. Okay, now I'm good.
Got me? Well, the Vols won. You got to be good. How you feeling?
My brain, my world's turned upside down. I don't know what's up and down or black as white. I don't know, man. It was a very I will tell you, I'm not this guy. Like, I have kind of grown out of fanboyness through, having sat in press boxes and been around the miserable old grumps and all that kind of stuff. And I've been one of the miserable old grumps. The 8th and 9th inning, Hunt, I did not watch a pitch. I walked around the outfield, just back and forth from foul pole to foul pole. And it was just like, I can't watch this. It was so miserable. After A&M, I think, got the first 2 hits, I was like, this is and it was me and about 25 other just miserable-looking Tennessee dads, definitely dads. And just we were all kind of like nodding at each other, and we're like, God, I hope this ends. I don't just end this, please. For the love of God, just end this.
See, it was a comfort cruise for us last year. We were up $1 million and just drinking some beers. It was fantastic. I know that we've been in the pressure cooker though as well. I'm curious. Were you a Tennessee fan when T. Martin won the national championship?
I was not. No, not until I went to school there in 2003 is when I got there.
So this is the crowning achievement of your Tennessee fandom. I got to think that feels pretty good now that you've gotten through that.
Yes, unquestionably. So I covered the women's basketball team
Okay.
when they won with Candace Parker. They won 2 national championships. And I have a hard time saying how little people that I knew cared, but no one cared.
Yeah.
I was on the beat, and so I didn't really, I wasn't like a fan or anything like that. And none of my friends cared. Nobody I talked to even thought of going to the Final Four, like none of that kind of stuff. And now women's basketball, I think, is a much bigger deal in general, like to the larger populace. But yeah, this was definitely number one with a bullet as far as Tennessee enjoyment, with maybe the exception of beating Alabama a couple of years ago.
Sure, understood. Now you're talking to a lot of people that have been to Omaha and experienced what that is and winning a national championship there. I don't know if this was your first trip or not. Tennessee's been there 3 times in the last 4 years, but what were some of the things that you enjoyed or some of the things that maybe surprised you about going up there and taking in the College World Series final?
I was there in 2005. I was covering them when I was in college, and Tulane was there also then. So that was kind of fun. There were a lot of people from New Orleans, but really, I'm not exaggerating. Tennessee might have sent 95 people there in 2005. I mean, there was nobody traveled with Tennessee to go to that game. No one cared. It was like the 100th priority in Knoxville. Like, it was nothing. And then this year, all my buddies from college, all these people who I hadn't seen in a while, like it was like a giant reunion there. It was such a cool event and such a thing that like has become a big deal for my school, but also for a lot of schools. Like the really fun part of it was the fact that A&M did bring a huge fan base too. So both teams brought really big fan bases. Everybody kind of interacted with each other. There was no, unlike football where everything feels like you're in war. There's so much hostility and there's so much intensity. There's none of that. Even as these games were close and they were grinding, I didn't hear anybody talking trash to each other. I didn't see any conflicts. People were sitting next to each other, Aggies and Vols, and everybody was good. You go look online and it's like nuclear war between the two sides. Everybody hates each other and they're talking. It's awful. And you're sitting in the stadium. In front of you was happening this very big event, and everybody's very congenial to each other, and everybody's getting beers after the game. People are taking shots together, and like it was a very it's such a cool experience in that way. Because I've done championship basketball, I've been to the Final Four, and I've been to every kind of for college every major event, and this I thought was far and away the most laid back when it comes to the people are in it for their team, but they're not wanting to see the other team die.
Right.
It does feel like a very different in that regard.
And like that's the one thing that we did miss last year, and I think that's been missing the last 3 years. It was a total LSU takeover last year. Florida had 1,200 people there. Same thing goes. Vanderbilt doesn't bring anybody, and Ole Miss overwhelmed Oklahoma. I was curious how that arena would look when I look at 2 starving fan bases that won a national championship that travel really well, and I thought it would be a really good environment. I talked to some beat writers that were there and said the same thing, and you've kind of echoed it. So that sounds really, really cool. And congratulations to the Vols. I don't know, there's a lot of people pulling for them down here in South Louisiana, but it was fun to watch.
I mean, it was. I thought it was a good series. Like the Friday night game wasn't all that close, but I thought it was compelling. And I thought the last 2 games were just really good baseball games. Like a lot of stuff happened. Everything. There's a lot of base runners, a lot of traffic, a lot of big plays on both sides. I thought it was very good baseball. Whereas I thought LSU's 2 games against Wake Forest last year were 2 of the better baseball games you'll ever see. But the championship was not very compelling to watch. This one, I don't think those semifinal games were all that compelling, but the finals was very much so.
Really, really good. And it feels like Tony Vitello is going to be there a long time. LSU's job came open and he stayed, and Texas's job came open and he stayed, and now it feels like as you kind of check some of these big names off that he may be there for a while, and they're kind of giving him everything he wants. So I don't think Tennessee's going anywhere.
Isn't that crazy though that he wouldn't leave? Like, you feel like it's the ballpark is very small. The weather is not particularly good, and the tradition's not really there. But he's so well beloved now that and they have the money. Just generally, the money is there to, I guess, get him. But the concept that you could steal the coach from Texas A&M and you couldn't steal the coach from Tennessee is very strange.
It is
to me.
So let's talk some Pels while we got you here. They go ahead and take the pick last night. They take the center from Baylor. I realize that once you get past the first 6, 7, 8 picks that you're kind of taking depth pieces that are going to develop, and you're taking a lot of 19-year-old kids. But when you saw the pick, what'd you think?
I thought it was pretty boring, personally. The line that came out of the local press here was like they filled a need. I'm like, it's not the NFL draft, guys.
Yeah.
He's not going to play.
Right.
You're not losing Valanciunas and then putting in this guy. It's just, that's not the way this works at pick 21 when you're taking a guy who, by all accounts, including Griff's, is very raw athlete. He started basketball very late in his career. I don't think this is not your plug and play replacement for Jonas Valanciunas. It's probably not even your real replacement this year for Cody Zeller. This is a guy who's probably going to spend most of the year in Birmingham. And sure, he could develop and will probably be really good at some point. But by that time, I don't think your need is necessarily going to be at center. It might be, but it's not as if you can draft for need when you're drafting a player like that. I think they're just drafting a project with the hopes that he becomes everything that Jackson Hayes wasn't. And I think a big line that came out was the athleticism and physique of Jackson Hayes with the brains of Garrett Temple. And I think that's what they're hoping for, and we'll see if any of that's true.
That's a really good thought. If that's the actual case, that would be. We know Garrett really well here, and that's a guy who played for 13 organizations. So people wanted him around. And my next question was going to be: is he going to spend most of the year in Birmingham? You tend to think so. So I don't know if there's much more to be said about that. I guess the bigger question is: what does the rest of the offseason hold for New Orleans? What do you think their goal is?
There's really one fulcrum, right? And it's Brandon Ingram. And it's do you sign him? And Griff alluded to it yesterday, right? Which is, do you sign him for a deal that is somewhere less than the max, which a year ago they offered him the max and he turned it down. But things happened in the last year that I don't think they feel remotely comfortable offering him to that level. So there is going to be a negotiation involved. I don't think they're against the idea of bringing him back. David Griffin has long loved Brandon Ingram, and Ingram is one of the rare players who has made an all-star game and who really genuinely is fine playing in New Orleans. I don't know if he particularly would love to play here over 28 other teams or anything like that, but he's happy to be here. And that is not that easy to find in the NBA in this era. So I think there's a lot of disappointment about the way he performed, particularly in the postseason. But if you can get that guy in a contract that you feel is reasonable, that is still a distinct possibility. But the other part of it, and I think what most people expect to happen, is that he believes he's worth somewhere much closer to the max than the Pelicans do, and therefore he's going to probably be traded. And so that whatever happens in that situation will basically dictate the entire offseason, because I don't think there's many other moves to be made, even on the margins. There's just not a lot else to do, with the exception of filling that center position, but that's going to be filled by someone who's, a mid-level type player. You're not going to try to go get a star center. You're going to try to get someone who basically fills minutes in a role. But whoever, whether it's Ingram or whether it's someone of his ilk who you trade for, that's going to be what decides this whole, trajectory moving forward.
When you trade Ingram, if that happens, what position are you looking to get back? Do you look to go front court or point guard and slide Trey Murphy in, or do you want to get a guy that kind of does what Ingram does for cheaper?
I think you'd like to get someone who is more similar to Ingram's skill set, right, as far as scoring ability, but does it more on the perimeter. And someone who could be a playmaker as well, I think would be a huge bonus for them. But you definitely need more shooting and you need some playmaking. And I don't think the position matters quite as much. I don't think it'll be a center, and it probably won't be someone who's 6'10" or whatever. But the position is not as important as the attribute of assisting Zion. And I think what we saw this season, after 3 years really of waiting, we finally saw that these two guys don't really bring out the best in each other. They don't bring out the worst in each other. I don't think they make each other worse, but they definitely don't maximize each other's games. And they're almost better when they were, flipping off minutes where one guy was on the court, one guy was, as they're interchanging those times, I think that's when the Pelicans were at their best. So you probably want someone who you think can maximize Zion, make him better, and really take advantage of the space that he operates in. And so that's why you want to get someone who's primarily a shooter and then someone who takes advantage of the space by playmaking.
He's Pelicans columnist and maybe more importantly an alum of baseball's national champion Tennessee Volunteers. He's Scott Kushner. We appreciate the time, man.
Thanks, hon. All right. Good luck getting through.
Thanks. I texted Scott. I got 5 hours today. I'm just trying to, in the late June, I'm just trying to stay alive. And we're getting there. Like, I've only got an hour and 45 minutes left to go. We got plenty of stuff to talk about. We got Jeff Duncan coming up in 45 minutes. We got Chris Marler coming up. We got Otter Locks. I got a top 250 from MLB.com when it regards to LSU's current roster in baseball and the signing class, which had some interesting things that I was able to surmise from. So we'll get to all of that when we come back after this timeout. Right now, Texas A&M's entire offense is in the transfer portal. You know that. I know that. Everybody in College Station knows that. Everybody in Austin knows that. And they're got to try to find a coach pretty quickly to close those gates and try to get guys back in the fold. And that, I think, probably immediately impacts LSU. I'll talk about some guys that they may be targeting and what that could mean for LSU moving forward. This is AFR.
AFR.
Brought to you by Glow Resources. If you are a business owner, if you're an HR manager, a VP, an ops manager, if you're the person in charge of hiring at your job, at your place of business, and you're having trouble finding the right people, you need Glow Resources. And I want to remind you, Glow Resources, they're exceptional when it comes to skilled blue-collar workers and also white-collar divisions. Remember, Glow Resources has a full professional placement division. So we're talking about office administrators, executive-level assistants, assistant controllers, plant managers, scheduling assistants, basically any type of office job. Accounting, HR, marketing, managerial, supervisor roles. If you're having trouble finding those people and sometimes hard to fill roles, Glow Resources specialize. They recruit nationwide. For example, they had a Baton Rouge company that was looking for an engineer. They found the employee in Florida to work the job in California. It's Glow Resources. Check them out online today. glowresources.com.
Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram is taking $20,000 off new 23 Ram 1500 trucks. We're open for business in our beautiful new showroom and taking $20,000 off the powerful Ram truck. All new Bayou vehicles come with a 7-year, 100,000-mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
BRAC teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work, creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined, we delivered. Gold. Brack, your #1 park system in the nation.
When it comes to ending cancer, we push forward, always working together for you. That's why our cancer experts at Kushner have clinically integrated with MD Anderson Cancer Center. This means advanced cancer care, including access to life-saving clinical trials and integrating care to treat the whole you. Introducing Kushner MD Anderson Cancer Center. Long live you.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust is giving our customers the power to bank anywhere, anytime during this challenging event. And we're right there with you. Our mobile banking app is a smart way to manage.
After further review with Matt Moscona.
Brought to you by South Point Volkswagen. SouthPointVW.com. Y'all, it is a great time right now to get on by South Point Volkswagen, especially if you have if you're looking for a new vehicle, want to get the best deal for your trade-in. Right now, the trade-in and trade-up event going on at South Point Volkswagen. They have amazing deals. You can drive away in a Taos right now, the compact SUV, 0% for 60 months right now at South Point Volkswagen. Airline just north of Highland, southpointvw.com. Also great deals on Atlas and Crossport. They want your certified pre-owned vehicles, so get on by and trade them in at South Point Volkswagen.
All right, it's AFR. We're here on a Thursday. Glad you're with us. Hope you're safe driving on home. We're working towards the weekend here on 104.5 ESPN. Baton Rouge, Hunt Palmer in for Matt Moscona. The drama of the week certainly is all revolved around Texas A&M and Texas and their baseball coaches. And the question is, what is next for the Aggies? I think Jim Schlossnagle now has kind of walked through the fire. He had to do the press conference after the national championship game. He had to go through the news cycle where he was leaving town. He had to drive to Austin, do that press conference, take questions from the A&M reporters. And now he can basically tunnel in, get into his office, make phone calls, get guys on visits, and start recruiting and be a baseball coach. Not going to do press conferences for a while there. I think there are a lot of people that don't like the way he's acted in the last 72 hours, but he'll be fine. He's going to get on and start coaching baseball. A&M now has to pick up the pieces and figure out what they're going to do. And while they do that, their entire offense is in the transfer portal. And right now, you here in Baton Rouge, in Louisiana, you're thinking, okay, well, who's LSU going to get? Jace Laviolette, former LSU commit. Gavin Grahovic, he plays third base. We got an opening at third base. Caden Sorrell, all-SEC freshman. That's a guy we need. And all that sounds great, and in this day and age, yeah, it makes a lot of sense. And look, Jay Johnson has gotten some great players out of the transfer portal. We know that. But my opinion is, and this is based on a little bit of information from the Texas A&M side of things, which is going to be slanted towards Texas A&M. But you realize that these guys, Jace Laviolette, Gavin Grahovic, Caden Sorrell, these guys just had an amazing spring experience on the baseball diamond at Texas A&M. They won a lot. Their crowds were incredible. They went to Omaha. The 12th man was there. And it was not like everything fell apart and their coach got fired. And it's like, get me the heck out of here. They liked Texas A&M to an extent. But because their coach got fired and they don't know who the next coach is, they're in the transfer portal as an insurance policy. And it's very possible that those guys could be reeled back into Texas A&M by a new coach and a healthy NIL package. And I have no problem believing the reports from College Station that there are baseball donors ready to ante up and pay. Because they're ticked off, they're probably a little bit embarrassed, and they want to beat Jim Schlossnagle badly. So there are pockets over there. They're deep, and I expect that there will be offers made to these A&M players that are in the transfer portal. It just depends on who the coach is, and nothing, I don't think, is going to move until the coach is brought in. The question is, who do they hire? Eric Bakich got a lot of pub early. He's got a new deal at Clemson. He's got an AD that they really like. Kendall Rogers, the D1 Baseball, has reported he's not going anywhere, and that makes a lot of sense. So what's next? First, I look at the Power 5. And I go, okay, Nick Mangione got in his team to Super Regionals the last 2 years, top 8 2 years ago. It's top 8 this year, got to Omaha, first time ever for Kentucky, huge personality, players love him, had sustained success at Kentucky. That's a guy they may look at. Of course. I would look at Brian O'Connor at Virginia. And you realize Brian O'Connor has been to Omaha 7 times with Virginia. He's won a national championship. He's won the ACC twice, 5-time Coach of the Year. It's a really good resume. He's been there since 2004. Is 20 years enough? He wants a new challenge and a bigger paycheck? Maybe. I think that would make a lot of sense. I think that'd be a great hire. And then Skip Johnson. Now, Skip Johnson is at Oklahoma. They're now in the SEC. He was in Omaha in the championship series a couple of years ago. And he's a Texas alum. I don't know if that is dissuading for A&M or not. Right now, currently, Texas's women's basketball coach is an A&M alum, and they love him. He's doing a great job. So it's not to say that that can't happen. Chris Beard was the head coach at Texas Tech. Like, we know. But those are the 3 Power 5 names that I think make a ton of sense. I don't think they're going to hire Kevin O'Sullivan. There's too much baggage there. I don't think Dave Van Horn's in a hurry to go to College Station. Tim Corbin is fed up with the whole thing. He hates NIL, and I know he doesn't want to go down there and do that with A&M. So you start looking at the top of the sport, like those 3 names, Mingione, O'Connor, and Skip Johnson, make a lot of sense. I would also say that in the group of 5, there are 2 names that could make some sense. Cliff Godwin's had an extended run of success at ECU. He's an alum. He did not get the LSU job. Ole Miss has not come open. He worked at those 2 places. I don't know if he's in a hurry to leave ECU, but he did express a lot of concern about the fact, and this is one of the wildest press conferences I saw postseason outside of Jim Schlossnagle, where he said, we wouldn't have sent those 2 pitchers out there on Monday if I knew they were going to be in the portal on Wednesday. Like, he literally said out loud, like, we had 2 pitchers in the game, in the biggest game of the year. They transferred out 2 days later. I wouldn't have even put them out there if I knew that was the case. And he seemed put out with the whole deal. Well, one way to make sure that things are a little more palatable as far as NIL and exposure in the transfer portal is to leave East Carolina and go to Texas A&M. They'll probably take a little bit of care of your players financially than East Carolina. And he's won a lot of games. They're good every year. And the other one is a name that I haven't heard a lot of people bring up, but I think it's fascinating, is Dan Hefner. If you don't know who Dan Hefner is, he's the head coach at Dallas Baptist. He's been the head coach at Dallas Baptist since 2008. They have been in the NCAA tournament every single year since 2014. They've only made the Super once, but they're good every year. He knows Texas. He's not really old. He's a good recruiter at that level. You give him the NIL backing. There's something about that state that people like folks in that state. And I get that. You got to do a good job of recruiting the state of Texas. And I don't know that Hefner is the huge home run swing that we think A&M's going to take. But I kind of think from the list I just gave you, you've got a pretty good chance of coming up with A&M's next coach. Mingione, O'Connor, Hefner, Johnson, Godwin. Kind of feels like potentially, and not Jay Johnson if you're just jumping in the car, Skip Johnson. That's kind of my thoughts on it. And I will caution you, again, about stargazing with LSU getting A&M players. My contention, and I said this on my show yesterday for those that were listening yesterday at that time and maybe in your car and at a different time slot and listening now, apologies for the repetitiveness, but it's a different audience here, a different day, a different time slot. My modest wager would be that a lot of these guys that went in the transfer portal from Texas A&M are going to be playing at 2 different places next year. University of Texas for their old coach, Texas A&M for a new coach. That's my guess. I don't expect that dust to settle until A&M finds a coach, and as I've said this yesterday as well, I expect them to do that by the close of business tomorrow. Maybe that seems ambitious, but I think this is not brand new to Trev Alberts. If everybody on the media side heard these rumblings 6 weeks ago, Trev has got to have been giving this a little bit of thought. That's his job. And so immediately when Schloss tells you, whether that was pre-College World Series final, whether that was right after, whether it was Tuesday morning, whenever that conversation happened, it's pretty easy to make 6 phone calls real quick. You start lining up some Zooms. You figure out where you want to go. You get on 2 different flights, maybe 3 different places in a day, and you make this happen so that you appease Laviolette, you appease Grahovic, you appease Sorrell, you appease Schott if he wants to come back, and you move forward. He's got motivated boosters, lots of money, and a great product to sell. They ought to get this thing done. And at that point, when it happens, you'll start to see this transfer portal shake out. Now, depending on who he grabs, the transfer portal opens for that team, and LSU could be in the mix for some of that as well. That's a little premature to start talking about right now because I don't know who that's going to be or what players could be available. But from an LSU perspective, I wouldn't be stunned if a lower tier A&M player or two was in the mix in the next 24, 48 hours. The big dogs that you're talking about, give it some time. And I wouldn't get your hopes up. That just doesn't seem like the vibe I'm getting right this very second. But we'll see. A lot of pressure on Trev Alberts to get that thing done in College Station, and I expect a huge amount of visitors on Texas campus coming up this weekend with a brand new staff and an NIL war chest ready to go to work as they get ready to come into the Southeastern Conference. Speaking of LSU players that you can pay a lot of attention to, the MLB Draft's coming up in the middle of next month, and I saw a new MLB.com top 250. You already know about the top end of LSU's signing class. You already know about some of these players in LSU's roster that aren't coming back. What about the other guys that could be in flux? I'll give you some of my thoughts next on AFR.
AFR.
Buying or selling, commercial or residential, think real estate, think Darren James, and I would really encourage you to do this right now. Was texting with Darren over the weekend, and he shot me this text. The new Darren James app, the mobile app, is live. So in your app store, Android, wherever it may be, go search for the Darren James app. I always tell you about the website, agent225.com, agent225.com, agent225.com. Most user-friendly website in real estate. Well, now you got the Darren James app at the touch of a button there on your finger. You can search homes, preferred vendors if you need contractors. You can learn more about the market. You can leave a review, how to hire a real estate agent, why. Some great information there on the app. Would highly, highly, highly recommend. You can also chat with Darren on the app. There's a little text button there in the bottom center. So download the Darren James app right now in your app store, or just log on to agent225.com, agent225.com. If you're selling your home, you need the best. You need Darren James.
Think real estate, think Darren James.
The Windsor Senior Living Community in Mandeville, Louisiana is a beautiful, vibrant apartment community geared towards seniors. They are nestled right in the heart of Mandeville, where seniors live a more carefree lifestyle in spacious apartments with the peace of mind that comes from having a little extra help. Call the Windsor at 985-624-8040 to schedule a lunch and tour. Come see how the Windsor can be your passport to peace of mind.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs. Even in the case of an after-hours emergency, the light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. For years, you've heard me tell you about Insurance Network of Louisiana, helping you find better coverage for less money. But it's not just for your home and auto. They also offer commercial properties. So, retail stores, professional offices like doctors, dentists, attorneys, clothing boutiques. Insurance Network of Louisiana can find you better coverage for less money. They service the entire state of Louisiana, and they're local. So call today at 293-0450 or lainsurance.net.
Jerry and Benny Payne began Central Plumbing Company out of their driveway in Tanglewood subdivision. 50 years later and 4 generations down the road, we continue to serve Baton Rouge and the surrounding areas for all of their plumbing needs. Residential, commercial, industrial, or hospitality, Central Plumbing is here 24/7, 365.
We want to thank our customers, family, and friends for 50 years of success.
And looking forward to 50 more.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected. supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Farming is a way of life for us. It's not something we get up in the morning and dread going do. It's just something we go to bed at night looking forward to getting up to go do. John Deere equipment is what we as farmers strive to have. It's in your blood, it's in your veins. It's just a part of who you are. Green is what we want to be in. The other tractors were acquired to patch it up to get to where you want to be. Where we want to be is in John Deere.
After further review with Matt Moscona.
We're brought to you by Optimize. Go to generatorpeople.com, generatorpeople.com. You want an automatic, a Generac automatic home standby generator? Let me rephrase. Of course you do. So why should you go with Optimize? 2 reasons. Number 1, the affordability. They have financing options to fit any budget, and you get your upfront quote price, meaning whatever they quote you on site. It's not like they're going to come back later and there's going to be fees and install fees and techs. And no. Whatever that number is that they quote you, boom, that's it. Turnkey installation. When they're done, it is ready to roll if the power goes out. Number 2, that's all they do at Optimize. They're not a business, an electrical business that does 10 different things. They do one thing. They sell, service, and install Generac automatic home standby generators. They got 4 locations across the 10-12 corridor. So it doesn't matter if you're in Lake Charles, Slidell, or any point in between. They are Louisiana's #1 Generac dealer. Optimize. Go to generatorpeople.com. Easy website, generatorpeople.com.
Really excited for our conversation with Jeff Duncan coming up in 25 minutes. Steve Gleason, if you have not heard, will be honored at the ESPYs in a couple of weeks as the Arthur Ashe Courage Award recipient. For his incredible battle against ALS and all the awareness he's raised, the funds that he has raised, and the battle he has fought. And Jeff wrote a book about it with Steve Gleason, and so we want to get Jeff's thoughts on all of that. Coming up in 25 minutes, very much looking forward to that. It's straight up 5 o'clock. I want to continue on the baseball side of things here. I saw a new top 50 from MLB.com that was released today. They'll do a new mock draft tonight, and I think most of you that are paying attention to LSU have seen a lot of mock drafts, and you see the first round, and that's kind of it. And you know that Cam Caminiti's in all those, and you know that Connor Griffin's in all those. You know Tommy White's in all those. You see William Schmidt in all those, and it's the same names, and you kind of see them recycled because you're only talking about 30 to 45, 50 picks, depending on how long they want to do that mock. But I think the interesting thing is not where Connor Griffin's get drafted for us as people that follow LSU. It's not where Tommy White's drafted. He's leaving. It's not where Cam Caminiti goes. Like, we know those guys are not going to be at LSU. It's the fringe guys who may sign professionally and move on, or maybe on the team next year. And I think this gives a reasonable look at it. Now, keep in mind, this is not a mock draft. It's a big board of sorts. So if you're thinking of like Mel Kiper, he's got his mock draft. He's also got his big board of top available players. This is a big board. And so it's not apples to apples with where they're drafted and what the signing bonus is, but I think it gives a nice perspective as to where LSU sits and where some of these players sits in the eyes of the professional game. To knock a few right off the top that you don't need to worry about, Connor Griffin's number 9 on this, Cam Caminiti's number 15 on this, Tommy White's number 20, Luke Holman 45, Gage Jump 62. Even Thatcher Hurd, I think you don't need to worry about at 114. Those guys are going to move on. That's 2 of your signees and 4 of your current players. Not really much to talk about there. Now, I realize I'm telling you we don't want to talk about Luke Coleman at 45, Gage Jump at 62, Thatcher Hurd at 115. Why would you talk about William Schmidt at number 15? Well, I'll talk about it for this reason. We all hold out hope as LSU baseball fans that William Schmidt ends up at LSU. But you see him mocked around 16 quite frequently. 13, 21, whatever the case may be. And just for grins, I take him off the big board at 16 here, and I give you what that signing bonus would look like at pick 16. It's $4.7 million. Now, William Schmidt is considered a difficult sign because of his allegiance to LSU being a hometown kid. So he's probably going to get over slot if he's taken in the first round. That's just the way the negotiation works. You can play this LSU thing for all it's worth. Maybe get more. So if he goes around 16th in the draft, You're talking about $5 million. I know you can point to Aaron Nola, who went to Catholic High, and see what he made after 3 years of LSU. You can point to Kevin Gosman, who was going to be a first-round pick and decided to come to LSU from Centennial, Colorado. You can look at some of these guys and see what LSU's development plan has done for them financially. Certainly Paul Skeen's in that category. But $5 million is $5 million. And I just don't think at that range you can hold out much hope for William Schmidt. I hope I'm wrong because he's real good. But you continue to see this. It's not a mock draft. It's just a list of the talents. But you see him at 16, you're like, goodness gracious, that's going to be tough to get by. Now, the other guys you want to talk about are Jared Jones and Griffin Herring. Where are they on this board? You're not going to see them in first-round mocks. They're not first-round picks. But where does MLB.com see them in terms of talent in this draft? Jared Jones is at 119 on this list. That slot, and I realize, again, this is not a mock draft, but that slot at 119, if we just want to throw a dart against the board, is $606,000. I don't think he signs for $606,000. The question is, does somebody look at that power profile at his age and say, $850K, 1.1? That's double what this is, but I think that's the realistic scenario, and I think Jared Jones is going to go. That's just my guess. He's going to have to get more than what you would get at 119 in the slot, but I think that he's going to get that. Griffin Herring is the interesting one. He is on this list at 157. The slot at 157 is $418,000. Now, keep in mind that when you start to look at where Gage Jump is slotted, that is north of $1 million. And if you watched Gage Jump pitch and you watched Griffin Herring pitch, they're different, but neither one of them 6'5". Neither one of them throws 100, although Jump throws a little bit harder. They're both really effective in the SEC, and they're both 21 years old. It's not a massive chasm. Yes, Griffin Herring's more slider heavy. Yes, Jump throws a little bit harder, but they're both 6'1", 6'2" lefties, effective in the SEC, and they're slotted at 62 and 157, 100 spots different in this. And I think if Griffin Herring comes back and throws a changeup and starts the way that Gage Jump did, it's not unrealistic to think he could climb into the top 75 from 157. And there's a significant amount of money that can be made moving up that many slots. It's not a guarantee. The only thing that's guaranteed is that Griffin Herring dominated the SEC last year. That is guaranteed. And he could come back, try to start, and fail. And at that point, you're a year older and potentially not as capable of getting a team to go over slot. So there is a risk involved, but I think there's a reward involved that's worth it. I think LSU's got a real chance to keep Griffin Herring around because right now at 157, that slot being $418,000, you think about taxes and agent fees, and you're talking about $225,000. Yes, sitting right here, I will take a check for $225,000. I'm also not in a position 1 year from now to bump that up significantly, and also no one's offering it to me this very second. But in the grand scheme of things, for him, there's more to be made. I think LSU's got a real chance to keep Griffin Herring around. It just depends on what teams value him and how far above slot they're willing to go. The other one that I'm interested in talking to you about here today, actually it's two, is Cade Arambidi, who's 115 on this list. Catcher out of Houston. The slot at 115 is $631,000. It's right north of where Jared Jones is. And that's interesting to hear them put them together comparably in terms of talent. And I think there's a real chance LSU can get him to campus, but it is a risk at 115. Teams really like catchers who profile as offensive players. He's a good defender, really good defender. The pop time's awesome. But if you can add offense to that profile, that's just a rare thing. And that's why he's thought of the where he is. But if he can put it together at LSU for a couple of years, all of a sudden, you're really talking about something. So that's an interesting one. Michael Ryan is in this signing class. They've got him at 202. He's a shortstop from Rummel. I've heard some rumblings there may be a real draft concern there, but LSU's in the need for infielders. He's a really talented one. We'll see if 202 around that area is enough to sway him to go. You're talking about around $300K there. So we'll see. But the last piece, and this has nothing to do with money, I am interested in because of the profile of the players and the ranking here. It's fascinating to me. Jared Jones, I told you, is slotted 119 in this, 119th. Cale Fountain, who's in this signing class, is 121st. He's only 2 spots behind Jared Jones, and their profile is similar. Cale Fountain is the all-time leader in Nebraska high school home runs. He plays third base. So corner infielder, big power profile. They think of Jones at 119 and Cale Fountain at 121. That, to me, is fascinating because LSU is in desperate need of pop for next year's team. If Jones comes back, that helps alleviate that. But Cale Fountain is thought of by talent evaluators as comparable in this draft with Jared Jones, just 3 years younger. I think that's fascinating because I haven't seen him in any of these mock drafts. He's not going to be a first-round pick. Maybe Cale Fountain's a guy that LSU could get through this draft, get onto campus, and potentially be a guy who hits for power next year as a freshman. It's a lot to ask of freshmen to do much, but maybe that's the case with him. You want to check out the entirety of that list, you can do it over on MLB.com. Jim Callis and the crew came out. They're going to do a mock draft later tonight. I'll probably talk about that on my show coming up tomorrow. Appreciate you hanging out with us. We're going to close out the hour with some really cool news from Omaha, Nebraska. That's next on AFR.
AFR
is brought to you by the Watermark Hotel and the Renaissance Hotel, 2 beautiful hotel properties in Baton Rouge, the Watermark downtown, the Renaissance Southtown right there on Bluebonnet. And when it comes to hosting your event, both the Watermark and the Renaissance are perfect. The Watermark is a gorgeous, elegant spot in downtown Baton Rouge. That wedding reception, that smaller gathering, that meeting space, they can do it. They've kept so much of the history and tradition of that iconic building while modernizing it. The Gregory is a great restaurant inside of the Watermark as well. And then, of course, the Renaissance Hotel, Southtown, right there on Bluebonnet in Baton Rouge. It's more modern. It's a gorgeous, gorgeous hotel property at the Renaissance Hotel where they have meeting space that can accommodate up to 500 people, 7,000 square foot of meeting space, perfectly located right off of Bluebonnet and I-10. It's the Watermark and the Renaissance Hotels in Baton Rouge.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Farming is a way of life for us. It's not something we get up in the morning and dread going do. It's just something we go to bed at night looking forward to getting up to go do. John Deere equipment is what we as farmers strive to have. It's in your blood, it's in your veins. It's just a part of who you are. Green is what we want to be in. The other tractors were acquired to patch it up to get to where you want to be. Where we want to be is in John Deere. Flip the switch and learn more about what it means to be powered by sunshine at sunequip.com.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
Breck teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work, creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined, we delivered.
After further review with Matt Moscona.
Brought to you by Evermore, all natural, great tasting water. When you uncap a bottle of Evermore, that's the first time the product touches air. It's incredible. It's a natural well. It's natural artesian water. It's a well. It's on the North Shore. I went to their bottling facility. When you pull up on the left, you'll see the well is right there. They've drilled deep into the earth. They pipe it out right into their filters and their filtration system. Nothing is added. Nothing is extracted. It is completely pure from the earth water. So if you want a healthier option, if you want a healthier lifestyle, something healthier for your children, maybe you're an athlete that wants a superior form of hydration, Evermore, EVAMOR. If you notice, go to their website, you'll see Dak Prescott is one of their chief spokespeople. I mean, starting NFL quarterback is vouching for it. Check it out at great local retailers or order on their website at EVAMOR.com, Evermore.com, Evermore.com.
Round of hour number 2 here on a Thursday edition of After Further Review. I wrote last year after LSU won the national championship in Omaha and being there to experience it all, that LSU is not a blue blood of college baseball. LSU is the blue blood of college baseball. And when I said that, there was probably a hint of bias in it, but I feel pretty strongly about it. And I don't think that anybody else does Omaha the way that LSU does Omaha. I think that Tennessee and A&M were phenomenal in terms of their support of their programs throughout the College World Series. And heck, even Tennessee won the Jello Shot Challenge. Shout out to them. But I saw a tweet today that caught my eye, and it was from Rocco's Twitter account, which is CWS Shotboard on Twitter. And the message said, true to form, LSU baseball fans put their money where their mouth is. They managed to raise $9,289 for the Baton Rouge Food Bank, despite not making it to Omaha this year. We know from experience how generous these fans can be. Salute them for showing it once again. You name me one other program in college baseball who's going to send a bunch of money to a Jello shot board in Omaha that goes to the food bank in their hometown other than LSU. It doesn't happen. Name me another college baseball program that's got a bar and a restaurant that's quote-unquote theirs. Barrett's Barleycorn. There's no other restaurants in Omaha tweeting at their baseball programs when they win a Super Regional, except Barrett's to LSU. Rocco's sending this to LSU, didn't even make it to the College World Series. There are a lot of really good fan bases in college baseball. A&M is certainly that. Arkansas is phenomenal. Mississippi State and Ole Miss flooded that place for their program's first national championship in the last 5 years. But no one has a relationship with Omaha like LSU, and I think that's really, really cool. I've seen the College World Series at Rosenblatt. I only saw it once in 2009 for the first 2 games. I don't have the relationship with that part of town that a lot of you that went over the years in the 90s do. Zesto and the neighborhood and the card shop next door and the zoo and the whole deal. But I have covered the College World Series in 2013 at the new stadium and then seen last year its most recent form. And it's such a great event. It's so cool. I'm hopeful that a lot of the nation gets to experience it and sinks resources into trying to get there, and it's not just the SEC Invitational from here on out. But when I see things like this, I'll be very frank, like it's just very cool to me to see the way that LSU throws its arms around the College World Series and the way that Omaha, in turn, throws it back around LSU. Me and my dad were in Ubers last year and had bartenders and waitresses and waiters and just constantly getting, God, we love when LSU's here. Y'all are so great. It's so awesome. It's just a different feel. And I can't prove for sure that they weren't all giving the exact same compliments to all the A&M fans this past year. I don't know. I wasn't there. But it feels sincere, and to see it when you go up there is so, so cool. And I realize that LSU did not make it this year, and I realize that it is really an investment of your finances to go to Omaha and to play. Me and my dad vowed after 2017 we were going the next time, and we just made that happen. And it was awesome. If you've never been to Omaha, find a way to get up there the next time LSU's there. Start socking $20 a month away right now, whatever the case may be. Find a way to get up there because it is such a cool event, and they love the purple and gold. Clearly, Rocco's feels exactly the same way as they sent that tweet out. $9,289 raised for the Baton Rouge Area Food Bank, and LSU wasn't even in the College World Series. Crazy, crazy stuff. That's it for hour number 2 here on a Thursday edition of After Further Review. Appreciate Scott Kushner for jumping aboard in hour number 2. Talked a lot of baseball as well. When we come back after SportsCenter, very, very fired up for this conversation. Jeff Duncan, of course, of The Advocate, NOLA News, wrote a book with Steve Gleason. Steve Gleason receiving the ESPY for the Arthur Ashe Courage Award. We'll talk to Jeff Duncan about that and the story that has been Steve Gleason and Team Gleason over the last 20 years in the Big Easy. Come back after SportsCenter. One more hour to go of AFR.
AFR.
For the last 3.5 years, I've told you, do business with someone you know. And that's still the case. It's just we've got a new company. It's Parrish Construction and Roofing. But it's all still the same people. It's me, it's Ryan Terrio and Richard Tilley and Joe Morales, all the way down to Christina in our office, who when you call, that's who you talk to, and the same friendly crews that come actually do the work at your home. It's our same team. We just started a new company, Parrish Construction and Roofing. You can give us a shout. We even have the same number, 364-1007, 364-1007, or parrishbuilt.com, parrishbuilt.com. Roof repairs, roof replacements, from the residential, smallest residential repair to the largest commercial roof replacement. We do it all, and we do it friendly with a smile, and we are here. We are local. We are Parrish Construction and Roofing. Do business with someone you know. parrishbuilt.com. That's parrishbuilt.com.
Bayou Ford has $10,000 off F-150. $10,000 off the new 2024 Ford F-150. And all new Bayou Ford vehicles come with a 7-year, 100,000-mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Ford is going to do right by you.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
When it comes to ending cancer, we push forward, always working together for you. That's why our cancer experts at Oshner have clinically integrated with MD Anderson Cancer Center. This means advanced cancer care, including access to life-saving clinical trials and integrating care to treat the whole you. Introducing Oshner MD Anderson Cancer Center. Long live you.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs. Even in the case of an after-hours emergency, the light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. For years, you've heard me tell you about Insurance Network of Louisiana, helping you find better coverage for less money. But it's not just for your home and auto. They also offer commercial property. So, retail stores, professional offices like doctors, dentists, attorneys, clothing boutiques. Insurance Network of Louisiana can find you better coverage for less money. They service the entire state of Louisiana, and they're local. So call today at 293-0450 or lainsurance.net.
This is SportsCenter.
I'm Doug Brown. For the first time at an NBA draft, it's day 2. Coverage underway right now on ESPN Radio and TV. The Raptors opened the second round by taking Jonathan Mogbo of San Francisco. Among the players still available, USC's Bronny James. ESPN NBA analyst and evil genius Tim Legler thinks the Celtics should draft James.
54th pick. We renewed a Cold War between the Celtics and the Lakers. The Boston Celtics take Bronny James, and he sent a ransom note to the Lakers. We have your son. We have your son. If you want him back, it's going to take Austin Reeves.
Tim Legler on First Take. The Celtics and Lakers have the next 2 picks, number 54 and 55 overall. Team USA coach Steve Kerr says all 12 of his players, including Kawhi Leonard, will report next week for Team USA training camp in Las Vegas. Leonard missed the last 3 playoff games for the Clippers with a nagging right knee injury.
Hey, it's Evan Cohen coming up Friday. Paul George, James Harden, Klay Thompson. With free agency about to start, I'll tell you where they'll all land before free agency begins. It's Unsportsmanlike, 6 a.m. Eastern, right here on ESPN Radio, ESPN2, and ESPNU.
Matt Moscona.
I'm very important.
After further review.
Say it one more time.
After further review with Matt Moscona.
And here we go.
Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge Studios.
Let's ride!
After further review, hour number 3, quitting time on a Thursday. Appreciate you driving home with us. Matt out on vacation through next week. Hunt Palmer filling in. I've been with you since 1 o'clock. We can do one more hour here. We'll have the newest member of our squad here, Chris Marler, in 15 minutes from right now. But we start off hour number 3. I think everyone listening is well aware of Jimmy V's speech at the ESPYs, Don't Give Up, Don't Ever Give Up. That was in 1993 as he was receiving the Arthur Ashe Courage Award. It was actually the first time that award was ever given out. And since then, there have been incredible recipients like Muhammad Ali, Pat Tillman received it, Nelson Mandela, Pat Summin, Robert Roberts, and it was just announced that this year at the ESPYs in a couple of weeks, the Arthur Ashe Courage Award will be awarded to Steve Gleason. To talk about that, we bring on Jeff Duncan, columnist for the Times-Picayune and NOLA.com. Has been there for the entirety of Steve Gleason's run in New Orleans and joins us now on the Jim's Firearms Hotline. We really appreciate it, Jeff. How are you?
Doing good, Hunt. Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. It's our pleasure. Obviously, you wrote a book with Steve, A Life Imperfect, that details his life with ALS and finding peace and wisdom within a fragile existence. And you were covering the team when he was on the team, and now I've seen this entire journey. I'm curious your reaction when you got the news that he would be receiving this Arthur Ashe Courage Award.
Yeah, we're really excited for Steve. I mean, it's a well-deserved honor, obviously, and he's been up for this award a few times over the years. So it was nice to see ESPN finally recognize Steve and all he's done in this journey with ALS as a humanitarian above everything else. I mean, that's what this Arthur Ashe Award represents, kind of athletes that do work outside of the sport, that transcend sports, And I think what Steve has done in the ALS community and raising awareness and changing and impacting the lives of those that are stricken with the disease and allowing them to have hope and better, purpose-filled lives really has been groundbreaking. And so it's nice to see him recognized.
Take me back to the diagnosis and what things were like early on. I think a lot of people are very much aware of Steve now. He's present at Saints games 2 or 3 times a year, incredibly present considering his current circumstance. But what do you recall, and what did he tell you as you were writing that book about the early months of that diagnosis that have to be really, really difficult?
Yeah, I tell you, that chapter in the book, chapter 11, is one of the more powerful chapters in A Life Impossible because there's so much unknown and uncertainty. The disease is what they call a rule-out disease. In other words, there's not a medical test that you take that says you've got ALS. Instead, you test for another of other things and you rule out those possible diagnoses until you get to there's nothing left except it's ALS. So Steve was going through that battery of tests back in 2011. I mean, the first signs that something was off was he started getting muscle twitches, almost like spasms you would have in your arm or your thigh. That's usually one of the first signs, and he just thought it was related to his playing career in the NFL. And then slowly but surely, he started losing strength in his upper body. And that's when he went to the test then. I can still remember running into him out in December of 2010 out at a restaurant in New Orleans, he and Michelle, when they first told me that they thought this is what it was. It was still shocking to hear those words from him, and I could hear the fear and the uncertainty in his voice that night, and he got the official diagnosis just a couple weeks later.
At what point do you think it went from fear and uncertainty and then to realization and probably a little bit of depression? I'm just guessing. And then at what point did this fierce fight and this intent come out?
It was pretty quickly. I mean, he wrote a letter to all of us in his inner circle the night of his diagnosis, January 5th, 2011. And we have that actual email in the book, and it's one of the more powerful parts of the book because you can feel the emotion, but yet you can also feel the resolve in him. And, he in his own self-deprecating way, and I guarantee you, anyone that watches the awards ceremony, July 11th, the ESPY Awards, when he's on stage, he's going to have a speech, he will be self-deprecating. It's part of what makes Steve such a lovable, endearing person is he has a way of disarming people with his humor. He will have a joke guaranteed in that speech, just like he did the night that he wrote all of us, saying basically that this diagnosis derailed his plan to live to be 109 years old. He said probably not going to happen now, but that's I wouldn't doubt him even today that he's going to get there. That's just how he's wired.
I want to talk about his impact on the New Orleans area and the Saints organization as well, but I'd like to stop here for a second and talk about him, the family man, because he's continued to raise a family in the condition that he is. Can you speak to that part of his life?
Yeah, it's a great point. I mean, it's maybe it is his number one purpose in life right now, being a present father for Rivers and Gray, and being a loving husband to Michelle, his wife. I mean, to me, those are his main, I think, motivations to continue on this journey. He's now coming up on 13, actually it'll be 14 years with the diagnosis. Most ALS patients live 2 to 3 years, 5 years tops, because the disease is so relentless. Eventually it robs you of your ability to move completely and to be able to breathe. And most people choose to just let the disease take its course because it's a very difficult quality of life. And it's very expensive to care for an ALS patient, hundreds of thousands of dollars a year. So most people elect, to not carry on. But he's not most people, and he also is blessed. He knows that he has the resources to be able to do this. And I think another part of his resolve is other people with the disease. He knows that he is a beacon of hope for a lot of people with ALS. And I think he feels a little bit of a responsibility to kind of continue on with this mission.
Chatting with Jeff Duncan about Steve Gleason, who will be honored here in a couple of weeks with the ESPY for the Arthur Ashe Courage Award. You can read the book that Jeff's referencing, A Life Impossible, Living with ALS, Finding Peace and Wisdom Within a Fragile Existence. Steve Gleason and Jeff helped write that book with Steve. The Saints, you're around them all year, and if you go to the Dome, you can see the statue of the block punt right there on the concourse level outside the Dome. But what kind of a presence does Steve Gleason have within that organization day to day?
Well, he's become a legend, obviously, among the fans. He was a cult hero when he played, Hunt. I'm not sure if you remember that or not, but, he was such a popular player. And, he likes to point out to me all the time, he thinks I've made him out to be almost like a mascot now instead of a very good player, because he was a special teams captain, and he was a great athlete. Just think about it this way. He started at Division I major college at Washington State for 3 years as a center fielder on the baseball team and for 3 years as a linebacker. How many players do you know that can do that at that level? And he was really good at both sports. At one time he thought Major League Baseball was going to be his profession. And during his tenure with the Saints, he was elected a team captain almost every year by his peers. And when Sean Payton came on, he was looking to pair the roster from players that were in the previous regime, and quickly he realized Steve Gleason wasn't just going to be a player they kept, but he was going to be a leader on that 2006 team that ended up going to the NFC Championship game. And so he's still revered internally in the building. He still has a very strong presence out at the facility. He comes out a lot to practice. He holds his camps, his life skills camps, at the indoor facility. They just had one a week ago out there. So he's still heavily involved and always will be a presence at home games.
And last one, Jeff, your time so much appreciated here on this Thursday. It's a difficult ask, but can you put into words what he has meant for ALS awareness, maybe a dollar figure, or just some of the things that he has done to raise awareness and money for this awful disease?
Well, it's hard to really fathom the reach that he's had and the impact he's had. I can tell you, he helped found Answer ALS, which is now the largest collaborative organization in the world that's, working on trying to find a cure for that disease. But more importantly, I think he's changed people's lives and how they look at the disease. I think at one time, everyone looked at it as a death sentence. And, it is a terminal disease. There's no cure for it. But I think people now understand through Steve and the way he lives his life that you can still have a very purposeful life and still a productive life with this disease. It's not a death sentence. I think Stephen Hawking showed everyone that. He lived 4 decades with the disease and was one of the greatest physicists and minds in our generation. I think Steve is having that same kind of impact in his own way as a beacon of hope for people, and also improving their lives and pushing for modern technology that is affordable for people so they can continue to live these lives and not have to succumb to the disease, that it's not a death sentence. And, what's that worth? It's obviously priceless.
I've Googled the book, and I've got add to cart right here on my screen, but if someone wants to find A Life Impossible, where's the best place to go find it?
I tell people all the time, support the local booksellers wherever you're at. If you can get out and get one in the store, buy one from a local bookseller. But if you can't, you can find it anywhere online, at Amazon.com. It's available just about in every bookstore in the country. And I can't wait till July 11th. Hope everybody watch that award ceremony. I guarantee you Steve's speech is going to be incredibly compelling and incredibly powerful.
As is his entire story. It's been fantastic. Thanks so much for taking a little bit of time to tell us about it, Jeff. Thanks.
Thanks for having me on, Hunt. Appreciate you.
He's Jeff Duncan, columnist for NOLA.com and NOLA News, and an author. Obviously wrote the book about Drew Brees and Sean Payton, and also now A Life Impossible, Steve Gleason's story. The Arthur Ashe Courage Award winner, Steve Gleason, and certainly more than well-serving and maybe a little bit overdue. Not to take anything away from those that have been awarded in recent years, but Steve Gleason certainly deserving of that honor, and we'll see that on July 11th. All right, so thanks to Jeff for giving us a little bit of time. We'll take a time out. When we come back, we'll talk some college football. Chris Marler has been a lot of different places, but now he's with us on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. That's next on AFR.
AFR.
Brought to you by Action Industries, proud partner of LSU Athletics. ActionIndinc.com. That's where you find them online. You can find them on LinkedIn as well. And one of the things that I tell you often about Action Industries that I really respect the most is Action Industries, they know who they are as a business. They've been around since 1982. So in 42 years, they've really developed a reputation among the petrochemical and refinery markets. And so when it comes to those contractors, these industrial and commercial contractors, like their safety record is exemplary. The work that they do is exceptional, which is why they thrive on repeat business. Well, you don't keep getting hired for 42 years if you're not doing great work. That's Action Industries. But also they know who they are. There's some giant companies that do these mega projects, and they're not going to bid on a $200 million project. But if you have a 100-man job, that's their sweet spot. They're perfect for that. You need to get to know Action Industries. ActionIndinc.com.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Jerry and Benny Payne began Central Plumbing Company out of their driveway in Tanglewood subdivision. 50 years later and 4 generations down the road, we continue to serve Baton Rouge and the surrounding areas for all of their plumbing needs. Residential, commercial, industrial, or hospitality, Central Plumbing is here 24/7, 365.
We want to thank our customers, family, and friends for 50 years of success.
And looking forward to 50 more.
Farming is a way of life for us. It's not something we get up in the morning and dread going do. It's just something we go to bed at night looking forward to getting up to go do. John Deere equipment is what we as farmers strive to have. It's in your blood, it's in your veins. It's just a part of who you are. Green is what we want to be in. The other tractors were acquired to patch it up to get to where you want to be. Where we want to be is in John Deere. Flip the switch and learn more about what it means to be powered by sunshine at sunequip.com.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
Brack teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work, creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined, we delivered.
After further review with Matt Moscona.
AFR is brought to you by First South Farm Credit. You know where to start. Your first call, your first visit, your first option when it comes to buying land in Louisiana is First South Farm Credit. And honestly, it doesn't even have to be land in Louisiana, because First South Farm Credit can help you buy land in any of the contiguous 48. And they've got more than 40 branches in Louisiana, Mississippi, and Alabama. So if you're right here in the Southeast, there's First South Farm Credit locations all near you. But remember, like, for example, let's say a lot of our audience in New Orleans, of course. You're living in New Orleans, maybe you're starting to build a family, grow a family. You want to move to the North Shore like a lot of people do. You want to buy the 100 acres in Tangipahoa. You can. And First South Farm Credit can help because they have an office in Amite. So you can walk in there. You can do business with someone who talks like you, lives where you live, and help you buy land wherever you want to buy land in the contiguous 48th. It's First South Farm Credit. If you're thinking of buying land, your first call, your first option should be First South Farm Credit. FirstSouthLand.com.
So I was just checking out Twitter, and I see Vern Funquist CFB tweet out, Baton Rouge fam, I'm joining Hunt Palmer 88 at 5:15 on AFR to talk some college football and God knows what else. See you then. That's from, of course, Chris Marler, who joins us now. Let's start with God knows what else. The Lakers just picked Bronny James. Is that a good pick?
Dude, I cannot begin to tell you how little I care about this storyline. Like, they finally caught themselves doing what we've all known that ESPN has done for years now, which is, I don't know if you saw like the graphic up when it was like Stephen A. and someone else, and the actual title of the segment was, who needs to win a title first, Lakers, Cowboys, or Yankees? It's like, who cares? Who cares?
That's a tough scene. And all the while, I'm sitting here trying to do 5 hours of radio in the middle of June where they're coming up with that. We're trying to figure things out to talk about here. Let's do it. I'm curious. You're a football guy. Has this Texas A&M baseball coach thing crossed over into football land? And can we expect this to really ramp up the rivalry as Texas shows up in the SEC?
I mean, those two really don't like each other. Like, you know, I think there's rivalries everywhere in the SEC. Like, there's fans from – rarely do you get fans to unite on one side of anything. But those two really, really don't like each other. And it's, you know, I kind of felt like going into this new beginning. I know Texas had a great year, in football last year, but like it kind of felt like A&M had a little bit of the upper hand as like where they were versus where Texas had been. And you know, like days before they're supposed to actually join, not only they lose the College World Series, but like 15 hours later they lose their coach. I think it's definitely going to spill over into football. I just hope, like, you know, honestly, if they do get revenge and A&M's able to win in late November against Texas, I just hope they do something fun to celebrate in revenge and don't do something stupid and cringy like they always do.
That's generally kind of the way they operate. My question is, because this is what A&M fans and media people have told SEC people for 2 years, like, y'all are going to hate them within 5 seconds. A&M already hates them, and it's baked in, and they all live together and work together and the whole thing. How quickly do you think SEC fans start to look over at Austin and go, we really don't like you? Because I know they didn't have very many fans in the Big 12.
You know, honestly, like, I love Sark. I think they obviously have a great tradition. And when I say tradition, I'm just being nice by saying they haven't won anything lately, and anything of significance. But I mean, you know, it's a blue blood program. Just ask them because they will tell you about it and all. I heard someone said today about how Texas, like, you know, they're bigger than any conference, and you guys just don't get it. It's like, I'm not trying to be like an SEC homer or carry the water for the whole conference, but like, I do feel like there's like a little bit of respect that Texas is lacking coming into the conference. You know, and especially coming from a Big 12 conference, which is far, far worse and far less competition. And you only won 4 Big 12 titles in the last like 28 years. So, like, for their own sake, they better phrase they're good. Like, if they come in, like, especially with how easy that schedule is, and they don't get over 10 wins, then I think that they're going to be humbled very quickly.
And they've only won those 4 because Oklahoma usually wins them. How do you feel that transition's going to look into the Southeastern Conference? They're used to winning a lot of games every year.
Yeah, I don't think Sankey did them any favors with the scheduling, which was, you know, every schedule in the SEC is tough for the most part, but my goodness, Texas, their schedule compared to Oklahoma's is night and day. I think that Oklahoma's like, the thing with that program is that, remember when Spencer Rattler transferred from there to South Carolina, you look at the differences in the roster, and like Oklahoma does recruit at an elite level, especially in like positions of like where it's important in the SEC, like in the trenches and, you know, the O-line, all that kind of stuff. And I think that they're going to be better than people think. You know, like they let Dylan Gabriel go, which tells you they have to feel pretty confident in Jackson Arnold. But between the two, like I'm hoping that Oklahoma has the better year. I just it's 1A and 1B in terms of obnoxiousness from both fan bases.
Were you surprised Brent Venables got a huge raise extension? I didn't see that was necessary from the Oklahoma side of things.
Listen, a lot of times when you have two total seasons as a head coach and one of them you only win 6 games and the other one you win 10, just ask Auburn. You deserve a huge raise and probably a lifetime contract. So good for him. I didn't think they needed to do it. I think they're trying to promote it as, or spin it as like this. They're trying to get investing in stability in the future, but doing that going into year one, especially in a league where it's like, what have you done for me lately? I don't know if that was the best move.
Why do ADs keep doing this? I don't understand. It doesn't feel like it's, especially if you already have the guy hired. It's not like he has a ton of leverage. Where was he going?
Yeah, no, don't try to make sense of it. Like what you're doing, like you're approaching this question like from a place of logic and reason, and that's not where any of this answer is going to be found. I mean, like I hate to pick on Auburn. I mean, I don't, but like they have kind of been like the bell cow of this whole thing because like this. There's been bad contracts before, right? But like when Malzahn had a good 3 weeks in 2017. In like November 2017, he had a good 3 weeks and upset Bama in Georgia, and he got a $50 million extension just like by bluffing about going to Arkansas. So like it hasn't slowed down. Like I mean they, you look at Harsin, you look at like there was some article about how much total money has been spent on buyouts and like that. Obviously, Jimbo Fisher's kind of an anomaly, but like, Will Muschamp's getting over $13 million twice from 2 SEC schools. Like, I don't know when they're going to learn their lesson, but as long as somebody's stupid enough to pay him, somebody's going to go coach.
So I'm guessing that if you're buying stock, and we're talking Texas A&M, and Oklahoma, you're buying the Texas stock first. I mean, how do you feel about Elko coming in and them moving on post Jimbo?
I mean, I'm glad that Jimbo's gone. Like that's I think everyone's probably glad that Jimbo's gone. Him and that Cheesecake Factory summer reading list, play calling sheet, like that's all good. Like I'm glad that he's not going to be in the side because that just seemed to be a very toxic like relationship between those two. And to be fair, it's not all Jimbo's fault either. Like people forget, like they're the idiots that gave him another extension that was also fully guaranteed when they beat Bama but went like 8-4. So between the three, I mean, it makes the most sense to buy stock in Texas just because the path for them, especially with that schedule and especially where we're in the NIL era now and they have such deep pockets, I feel like they would be the easiest choice to have early success. But I tell you what, A&M with Elko, I mean, Elko's coming from like a Duke program that had 10 total wins in the 3 years combined before he got there. And year one, he goes, gets to 9 wins. Year two, I think they got to 8, made a bowl game both years in a row. And the 8 wins was when his quarterback was gone for half the season. So I think Elko is probably the right person for that job because he doesn't seem super ego driven. I don't know what to make of Oklahoma. I just don't because like you've seen 2 years of Venables. One was great, 10 wins, you beat Texas, blah, blah. But that first year, when you only had 6-7 wins, like it's just too early for me to tell with them.
You've been working on some graphics for us on the socials about college football win totals from CBS. Florida at 4.5, Arkansas down there at the cellar. Obviously, you got LSU and Alabama down at 9.5. Like, was there any that you were looking at when you were putting those together that piqued your interest?
Whoever made that, I think it was Will Backus. Tremendous job, like having to put like all. He basically picked every game for every team, every schedule, and and we'll have a ton of those graphics rolling out like on our Instagram and Facebook. Just a heads up. For the audience, all that kind of stuff. But, what was most surprising, I think, was just like when you take a step back and look at the conference as a whole, several teams going 4-8 and then several teams going 10-2. I just think that's kind of a pipe dream to have that much of a bottleneck and logjam of 10 and 2 teams in the conference. Like, I think you're going to have a couple. But yeah, I like having, I think there's like 5, 6, 7 teams like in double-digit wins. I don't necessarily know if that's going to happen. I did love the fact that with LSU had, I think their total was at 9.5.
It was.
And he had them going over, with the 2 losses being to Ole Miss and Bama. Because the thing is, like, I think 10 wins as of right now feels reasonable for LSU going into the season, especially with they lost on offense from a year ago. But if you tell me that if they're going to lose 2 games, and it's those 2 games, I just feel like one of those, like, I feel like one of those is a toss-up. Like, they might lose one of those games. I don't think they're going to lose both.
They're both at home, so that's the interesting thing with LSU is that most of the difficult games are at home, and most of the very winnable games are on the road. So schedule's the biggest part of this whole deal, and we'll certainly kick all that around when we get to Dallas for Media Days here in a couple of weeks. Chris, I appreciate a little bit of time. Keep up the good work. We appreciate it, man.
Sounds good, brother. Chris
Marler, he's at Vern Funquist CFB on Twitter, hosts of the Fourth and Wrong podcast, handles a lot of social media for us, all those graphics you see on Instagram and Twitter that have all the win totals and quotes and opinion pieces and all that kind of stuff is all courtesy of our guy Chris Marler, and we appreciate a little bit of time. Otter Locks coming up in 15 minutes. We got some more to talk about when we come back, though. It is a Thursday edition of After Further Review.
AFR.
Weekend is almost here. Steamroll toward this weekend. Make plans to get on by Clegg's Nursery. If you're going to be in your garden this weekend, you want to beautify that lawn, that garden, maybe with all the hot weather, not a ton of rain, maybe you got some dead spots in your lawn. Our friends over at Clegg's Nursery can help. Whatever you need to bring that lawn to life. You want to add a pop of beautiful color. Full greenhouses with bedding plants and flowers. Just a gorgeous place and a great time to get on by Clegg's Nursery. And they got just about everything that you could possibly imagine over at Clegg's Nursery. Of course, they got gardening hats and tools and utensils and everything that you would need. They got Johnny Naylor seeds and, of course, full greenhouses of beautiful flowers. How about these sunflowers that are over there at the Segan Lane location? Get on by their Facebook page. I always encourage you to do that. If you're a green thumb, you know about Clegg's. You probably already followed their Facebook page, but I would highly recommend, because whenever they get new shipments, whenever they get new items, I recommend you get on by, because they always post them there on their Facebook page. Buy local, shop local, tell them Matt sent you to Clegg's Nursery.
Gulf Coast Bank & Trust is giving our customers the power to bank anywhere, anytime during this challenging event. And we're right there with you. Our mobile banking app is a smart way to manage your money and time. Gulf Coast Bank & Trust, the bank that cares about you.
The Windsor Senior Living Community in Mandeville, Louisiana is a beautiful, vibrant apartment community geared toward seniors. They are nestled right in the heart of Mandeville, where seniors live a more carefree lifestyle in spacious apartments with the peace of mind that comes from having a little extra help. Call the Windsor at 985-624-8040 to schedule a lunch and tour. Come see how the Windsor can be your passport to peace of mind.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
When it comes to ending cancer, we push forward, always working together for you. That's why our cancer experts at Oshner have clinically integrated with MD Anderson Cancer Center. This means advanced cancer care, including access to life-saving clinical trials and integrating care to treat the whole you. Introducing Oshner MD Anderson Cancer Center. Long live you.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal. a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs. Even in the case of an after-hours emergency, the light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
Value Ford has $10,000 off F-150. $10,000 off the new 2024 Ford F-150. And all new Value Ford vehicles come with a 7-year, 100,000.
After further review with Matt Moscona.
We're brought to you by Supper Club. You book your reservation, supperclubbtr.com, supperclubbtr.com. One of the things about Supper Club that I love is if you want to go to Supper Club and be a baller, you can do it. You want to go to Supper Club and order a $5,000 bottle of Chateau Lafite Rothschild, you can do it. You want to go have $400 shots of cognac, you can do it. You can have experiences at Supper Club that usually are reserved for Las Vegas and New York and Paris and Abu Dhabi. Like, that's here in Baton Rouge. But the thing you got to remember as well, if you want to go to Supper Club and have the best steak of your life and have a few appetizers, dessert, bottle of wine, you can do it as affordably as any other restaurant in town. But the experience at Supper Club is unmatched. Introduced open seating at the bar, first come, first serve. So if you knock off of work, you want to head by Supper Club, you can walk in without a reservation, see if you can grab a bar stool or a table by the bar as well. Have a great dinner, maybe cocktail, close some business. Book your reservation, supperclubbtr.com, supperclubbtr.com.
So sometimes some news breaks while you're on the air, and at that point you frantically kind of search through the internet to try to find some information to back up your thoughts. And so I tried to find Rob Pelinka's salary, and I couldn't find it. Alondra, do you know who Rob Pelinka is?
Sounds very familiar.
Rob Pelinka is the general manager of the Los Angeles Lakers. And in the last week, I don't know how much he makes. It's got to be 7 figures. He has hired LeBron James' podcast partner as the head coach of the Lakers and drafted his kid. Whatever he's making is a little bit too much, and I promise I'll do it for half the price. Whatever the Lakers are paying him, if you want to just use some cost-cutting measures, I'll take the gig for half of what Pelinka's making. I promise I can find a contact information for LeBron's podcast partner to coach the team and his son to ride the bench if they even put him on the team. Am I off base here with how ridiculous the Lakers are being run right now?
Not at all. I think it's laughable at how ridiculous the Lakers are running their organization right now.
So,
like, it's basically LeBron running this
clearly
organization.
And he's been doing this for 20 years, so it shouldn't be that big a surprise. He's been the puppet master of the NBA forever. He orchestrates who goes to Miami with him then, and then he goes back to Cleveland, and he's playing musical chairs with the head coach at that point, and then he leaves and goes to the Lakers and makes sure that they move some things around so that they can get Anthony Davis in. And like, he's been doing this and basically running the show in the NBA for 20 years, so it shouldn't be a surprise. And maybe this is completely unfair because I don't know LeBron James, and I don't know Bronny James. I've never heard one interview with Bronny James, quite frankly. All I know is he went to USC, he had the heart issue, he was cleared to play. He went out there and played a little bit, didn't put up very many numbers, was a middling player on a middling team in a middling conference. And now all of a sudden, he's a one-and-done player who was drafted in the NBA draft. And maybe that's all he ever wanted was to go play in the NBA with his dad. And if that is his life goal, and LeBron doesn't really care that much about getting rings or feels like, hey, we're not going to use our second-round pick on anything anyway, we'll just take my son, and this will be a cool experience for us. And if that's the case, more power to them. And that's probably the most plausible thing about this whole thing. But to me, just looking at it from far away, Bronny James is plenty good enough to play college basketball. I don't know if he's the best player on USC's team. I don't know if he should probably play for St. Mary's out there. I don't know if he needs to, I don't know what level he's a really good college player. I haven't seen enough of him to know. But he was a 4-star recruit. NBA.com ranks him as a reasonable selection at the back end of this draft. Like, he could play college basketball. I don't think he's an NBA player. That's my opinion. I don't think he can go out there night in, night out, rotationally, and play in the NBA. I think that's way over his head. That's my guess. I've seen plenty of really good college players who can't go out there and play. And he's, 19 years old? To me, from the outside, it looks like LeBron James has taken the college basketball experience from Bronny James, and it looks like he's held his organization hostage to make that pick and not try to better their franchise. Like, that's what it looks like to me, and it feels unfair. It feels like LeBron wants this thing to happen, and if it happens organically like the Griffies, which is all I can really think of, where like Ken could still play and Junior was a phenom and was the first pick in the draft and became one of the greatest players who ever lived, they played together because it kind of happened that way. This is so forced and to me like unnecessary. And I don't come from a place of authority in terms of NBA scouting or feel for the league and how things work, but it just feels slimy. And it feels like if Bronny James was going to be drafted in the NBA at some point in his basketball career, whether that was 1 year at USC, 2 years in college, 3 years in college, if at some point he was going to be drafted, that's such a prideful thing and such an accomplishment for somebody. And it just feels like, hey, they took you because your dad's on the team. Like, it's almost robbing not only the college experience, but the NBA draft experience from him. And that just feels really weird to me. Like, I feel like I put an adequate caveat in front of that maybe this is all the Jameses have ever wanted. And if that's the case, more power to them. I don't feel like the Lakers are going to win the championship next year. LeBron's got a lot of basketball behind him and not a lot in front of him. And maybe this is the culmination of the entire thing. And at that point, like, that's great. And certainly I'm well aware that LeBron James doesn't give a rip what the guy filling in for the afternoon guy on ESPN Baton Rouge has to say. I don't mean to come at it with that much hubris. But, like, I just don't like the way this feels from the outside. It just feels like charity. And I wonder if I'm, a player on the Lakers organization who's trying tooth and nail to make it in the NBA, to get to a roster and make the league minimum and stay relevant and have a career in the NBA. And now my roster spot is up for grabs because LeBron's kid's supposed to be on the bench, even though he's not as good as me. Like, that's another person who potentially could be involved. I mean, this has kind of been a punchline for 2 months looking at this. And Tim Legler, if you were listening to SportsCenter a little bit earlier, was like, if I'm the Celtics, I'm cranking this rivalry up once more. I'm taking him, and I'm going to send a ransom note saying, hey, send me Reeves, and you can get Bronny. I don't know. It just feels manufactured, inorganic, and forced and unfortunate. But again, maybe this is all they've ever really wanted there in LeBron land with the Lakers. NBA draft continuing to roll on. I haven't given my thoughts on the Pelicans portion of this, and I'll do that now. You realize when you're picking at 21 that you're not likely to find an impact player on your team. Like, it happens. You can go through the draft at any spot in history and find a great player that was picked in any spot. But more often than not, you're not going to find a real impact next year player at 21. And I don't think the Pelicans had any intention of doing that when they selected Yves Missi to their roster. He's a child in the eyes of the NBA and the game of basketball because he's been playing for like 5 years. His offensive game is essentially one-dimensional. Catch ball, dunk ball. That's really all he can do. He can rebound it and catch a lob and dunk it. He's not going to go shoot 12-footers. He's not a stretch five. He's a poor free throw shooter statistically, even though he did improve on that over time at Baylor. Like, he's not a great offensive player. He is a freak athlete with great attributes, incredible length, and in time could be a really, really good player. But right now, he's kind of a non-factor. So I realize that most people that follow the NBA realize they did not draft him just, take Jonas's spot. You're in. You're the 5. No, I think it's more likely he spends a lot of time in Birmingham than he does in New Orleans. So from that perspective, as we talk to Scott Kushner back in hour number 2, it is a little bit, quote-unquote, boring because he's just not going to help a lot right away. It's an upside pick, a stash pick. We'll see what happens. But I'm not that disheartened by the pick. The Pelicans used their second-round pick on Antonio Reeves from Kentucky. He is a guy, again, with great upside offensively. He was a great scorer at Kentucky, a guy who was leaned on a ton this year on a young team to help score a lot because he wasn't a young player. Reed Shepherd and Rob Dillingham kind of carried the bigger weight for John Calipari's team, but Reeves was really, really good offensively. He doesn't have incredible measurables and that kind of high-end upside, but I think a reasonable pick that maybe can be a scorer off the bench for you on a team that already has a lot of depth. I think the odds are these two guys spend a lot of time in Birmingham, but the Pelicans are a deep team. And I think if you're looking for a big change in what this roster is going to look like for next basketball season, you're looking at a team that very much needs to make a trade, and that's probably around Brandon Ingram. So we'll see how that goes. Yves Missi last night, Antonio Reeves today in the NBA draft for the Pels. We got one segment left to go. It's Otter Locks on AFR.
AFR.
Get Gordon and get it done. Gordon McKernan Injury Attorneys. You know where to find them. GetGordon.com. GetGordon.com. Proud to announce the newest member of the G team, Dominic McKinley, Tiger defensive lineman, 5-star from Acadiana, has joined up on the G team, and we're going to be lucky enough to have Dominic McKinley in studio with us soon, so we look forward to that. Also, Anissa Morrow, member of the Tigers women's basketball team, just did a sit-down with Gordon as part of the G team, so if you want to go check out that interview, it's up on social media at all the different platforms. Point is, Gordon's done a great job engaging in NIL with so many athletes, both male and female, across different sports and different universities, and giving them great opportunities and exposure. We're proud to tell those stories as well here. And if you've been injured in an accident, it's not your fault. Do what injured people in our state have done for 30 years. Go to GetGordon.com, GetGordon.com, GetGordon.com. You know what to do. Get Gordon and get it done.
Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram is taking $20,000 off new 23 Ram 1500 trucks. We're open for business in our beautiful new showroom and taking $20,000 off the powerful Ram truck. All new Bayou vehicles come with a 7-year, 100,000-mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. For years, you've heard me tell you about Insurance Network of Louisiana, helping you find better coverage for less money. But it's not just for your home and auto. They also offer commercial property. So, retail stores, professional offices like doctors, dentists, attorneys, clothing boutiques. Insurance Network of Louisiana can find you better coverage for less money. They service the entire state of Louisiana, and they're local. So call today at 293-0450 or lainsurance.net.
Jerry and Benny Payne began Central Plumbing Company out of their driveway in Tanglewood subdivision. 50 years later and 4 generations down the road, we continue to serve Baton Rouge and the surrounding areas for all of their plumbing needs. Residential, commercial, industrial, or hospitality, Central Plumbing is here 24/7, 365.
We want to thank our customers, family, and friends for 50 years of success.
And looking forward to 50 more.
Farming is a way of life for us. It's not something we get up in the morning and dread going do. It's just something we go to bed at night looking forward to getting up to go do. John Deere equipment is what we as farmers strive to have. So it's in your blood, it's in your veins. It's just a part of who you are. Green is what we want to be in. The other tractors were acquired to patch it up to get to where you want to be. Where we want to be is in John Deere. Flip the switch and learn more about what it means to be powered by sunshine at sunequip.com.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
After Further Review with Matt Moscona.
Brought to you by Relief Windows and ReliefWindows.com. You know, when we talk about Relief Windows every day, I always say windows, doors, siding. And now shutters as well. They do your indoor shutters. Same thing as the windows. Custom made, measured to fit your windows, custom fit for your windows, lifetime warranty on your windows, your shutters. But Brandon, you often hear say their number one product is customer satisfaction. And that's not just a catchy line. That's not a cliche phrase. Have an experience with Relief Windows and you'll understand. They go to the ends of the earth to make sure their customers are thrilled with the work they do. As a matter of fact, Relief Windows never takes $1 from you. You will not, no deposit, no down payment. They take all the risk. They will not take $1 until you're thrilled with the work they do. Who else does that? Only Relief Windows. Check them out online at ReliefWindows.com.
All right, closing up shop on a Thursday edition of After Further Review. Hunt in for Matt. Taylor will be in tomorrow for Matt. He's out all next week as well. Musso will be in the captain's chair. It's time for Otter Locks. It's too late to fade the Cubs because they started early. Jimmy, what are we betting on the presidential debate? Is that where we're going to put our money tonight?
Yeah. I got a little tie into it. I threw Biden would not be awake to watch the end of my late game with the Fever plus 9 o'clock tip-off. So I threw that in my 5-teamer. But anyway, all seriousness, the Indiana Fever with Caitlin Clark, they are playing much better basketball. I know we're going deep, but they've covered 5 in a row as well. Catching 9 tonight. Little Angel Reese, Caitlin Clark doubleheader tonight, 9 o'clock. We're taking a Fever plus 9. Then in baseball, I'm going Detroit. Flaherty, minus 1.5 runs. We're not going to lay that number, but we will lay 1.5 on the road. You know, Flaherty, man, that's a nice little 1, 2, 3, little trio with him. Tariq Skubal. Jeez, my mind, I'm drawing a blank on the third starter. You might be able to help
I got nobody on the Tigers' third starter. I'd like a Javi Baez strikeout parlay if I can get that. Is that in the books?
No. But, man, you Cubs, 2 on, 2 out to the 1-run game last night. You can't get caught, picked off,
Oh,
they pulled another one today. They got thrown out at home plate by about 3 steps. But they did win with a 2-run home run in the top of the 10th inning. I am taking Detroit minus 1.5 runs on the road. Look, man, we 4 for the last 4. A couple of 2-0 nights the last 2 nights. So Detroit minus 4.5 runs and the Indiana Fever plus 9 today.
I love it. What's coming up at Rufino's tomorrow?
You got it. Me and Charlie holding hands, saving lives. So, we'll get Bruce Marshall to break down the debate for us.
Perfect. Thanks, Jimmy. Have a good evening.
All right, Mike. Good luck.
He's Jimmy out with some Otter Locks on the Fever. I figure, and I think Jimmy was on this early, like the heavy money was going to be on the Fever early in the year. You needed to fade that. Apparently they've caught up now to Vegas, so Jimmy is all over that. Detroit Tigers. I'll tell you this, I play Immaculate Grid every morning, which has all the teams. You got to pick a player that's played for all the teams. The AL Central destroys me. I do not know anyone who's played for the Detroit Tigers or the Cleveland Indians or the Minnesota Twins. I'm awful at that, and it derails me most times. You start getting me in the AL East, I'm good. Even AL West, to an extent, I'm good. In the NL, I'm pretty solid because of the Cubs, but I can't handle the AL, so I don't know who the third starter is for Detroit. I got no chance on that one. But if you want to put some money where Jimmy's is, Indiana Fever and the Detroit Tigers. As he mentioned, the Cubs won. That's usually something we mention on the Hunt Palmer Show. We're going to do some at AFR here. I got to say, ladies and gents, 5 hours, that's a healthy chunk of change there. That's a lot to bite off in the middle of June. Alondra, are you looking for, how was the double shift for you? How was the double shift for you morning into AFR?
It's pretty brutal. It's a little taxing, but just get through it.
Do you have the morning show again tomorrow?
I do, and I have AFR again tomorrow.
Oh, no.
And next Monday and Tuesday.
See, Matt looked at me. He was like, hey, can you help me at all on Thursday and Friday? And I was like, I can handle Thursday. I don't really want to do 5 hours straight on Friday afternoon and stay here until 6. Paulie, I know you're here until 6 every Friday. It's not necessarily where I'm going to be. So, Alondra, you going to watch the debate tonight? The presidential debate? I don't even know what time it is.
I don't know. I'm kind of sick of it.
It's like, not great.
Yeah, and yeah. I'm not even going to get into it.
No,
But
here's my thing with the debate. I don't care what candidate you like. I don't care what candidate you hate. The thing that disappoints me as a journalism major who went to school is I will, tonight after the debate, I will watch 30 minutes of Fox News and I will watch 30 minutes of MSNBC.
Yeah.
That, to me, both sides is egregiously inept. I cannot believe that I'm going to watch some of this debate and then watch those two networks, and one side will say Trump absolutely squashed him, and one side will say Biden was incredible. And there will not be, in the entire hour that I watch those two networks, one dissenting opinion on said network. It's amazing to me that that is the model that our news networks have gone to. Like, I cannot fathom it, but that's all the politics we'll get into for this evening. I'm curious about that as a journalism guy who just is so disappointed with the way that they cover these debates.
I did find a debate drinking game.
Oh, Lord.
That is very intriguing to me. So I don't know, may or may not watch it, but
If you get into that drinking game and it's too potent, watch out for that morning show. That's all we will.
Oh, I've done that before, and it was brutal.
All right, that's it for AFR. If you missed any of today's show, you can always go back and catch it on demand. Thanks so much to Scott Kushner for jumping aboard. Thanks so much to Jeff Duncan, who talked about Steve Gleason getting that Arthur Ashe Courage Award. Thanks to Chris Marler for jumping aboard. And, of course, to Jimmy Ott. All our shows are archived on demand at 1045ESPN.com, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google, wherever you find your sound, and, of course, on YouTube. I'm back tomorrow from 1 to 3 on the Hunt Palmer Show. Taylor Sharp's on AFR. Have a great evening. We'll see you tomorrow.
AFR.
Quick reminder about Lee Michaels Fine Jewelry, lmfj.com. lmfj.com for Lee Michaels Fine Jewelry. They're the best. If you are, gentlemen, thinking about popping the question and you're thinking about where am I going to go buy that diamond, I want you to consider this. There are places that will sell you man-made lab diamonds, but what are you buying? It's according to its makeup and characteristics, sure, diamond. But is it going to hold its value? Like, is that the way you want to say, I love you, I want to spend the rest of my life with you? Go to Lee Michaels. Go to Lee Michaels. Walk in the door. Experience the thing I talk about all the time, which is the Lee Michaels experience. It's Lee Michaels Fine Jewelry with 10 locations. Baton Rouge, 2 locations in Baton Rouge. New Orleans, Lafayette, Shreveport, Mississippi, Texas as well. 10 locations across 3 states. It's Lee Michaels Fine Jewelry. Thrill her, gentlemen. Thrill her with a gift in the red box from Lee Michaels Fine Jewelry.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
I've been doing business with Luber for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience.